Hey, everybody. We have a special day today.
Yeah, it's going to be Earth Day.
It's Earth Day. That's awesome. That's a place we live, right?
Yeah, it is.
Third rock from the sun.
Something like that.
Something like that. Okay. Well, we have some pretty cool stuff for you today. This is a special episode. No coffee break this week because this is going to be an extra long, cool episode where we talk about all the amazing stuff on this wonderful planet we call Earth. With me, well, I should introduce myself first. I'm Ron Rose, your host, and my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Dr. Rose here.
Hey, everybody.
I'm gonna let you go on with what we're doing.
Yeah, we're pretty excited today. For the first time ever, we have some super fun guests. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce them, and then we're gonna get started with this episode. First, I would like to introduce. Ooh, maybe I should. I shouldn't have started drinking before the podcast started. All right, I want to introduce to you guys Janine Antolfie. She's a PhD candidate right now. She's studying animal behavior and ecology and evolution. Janine, can you say hi?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're really excited. And I'm also going to introduce Derek Coss. He has a master's degree in animal behavior and biology, and he is currently doing some pretty cool conservation and park and recreation work. Derek, can you say hi to everyone?
I'm here. I'm vibing. How's it going, everyone?
You should have been like, hi, everyone, Derek.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're really excited for today. But before we jump into our science and our topics and all the Earth Day stuff, we just want to thank you all for joining us. We want to remind you to like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you want to hear some of the extra cool content we have extra coffee breaks every week, or extra episodes for our patrons. You can join the patron program for $5 a month.
$5.
So,
okay, I'm going to ask Derek. Okay, Derek, what do you think? What could you buy for $5?
Donut. I like donuts,
yeah.
But I mean,
could you just go one day without a donut?
I could go a week without a donut.
So
would you rather have a donut or 5 extra episodes a month?
Right.
5 episodes, that's a good deal.
That's a pretty good deal.
He's like, you got a gun to my head. No.
I'd smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
Or that patron button.
He's turning into a YouTuber.
Oh, no.
The hipster's coming out. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, only $5. You're going to get some extra content from us supporting our cause, Unleashing Science, which is going to be basically give you guys the bona fide best way to be able to call out bad science, because there is bad science going on right now. There's a lot of media outlets just going, hey, this new study says these things, which the study is usually funded by something that is a little biased, and a lot of media outlets have an agenda. And if you're listening to this right now, I'll take my science neat. We are unbiased, unfiltered, unpolitical. This is just real deal Holyfield science.
If you want to support us, you can go to our website, I'llTakeMyScienceNeat.com. Up at the top, there's a Support Us button, so you can go there and learn more about our cause and our patron program. You can also go to our merch shop and check out all of the cool shirts and pillows and aprons and all of the cool art designs that Ron and I have made over the months so that you can support us through buying our merchandise.
Yeah, we have some pretty fun science merch, and we're going to have more coming up in the coming months, and adding new things every so often. But
we're pretty excited about all the art. But we're also pretty excited today. It is Earth Day. We're releasing this episode early. It's going to be an extra long episode.
Okay, but bourbon.
Oh, yeah. We got guests, we got science, but most importantly, we got a new bourbon.
Yeah, and our guests are here with us, and they're going to share in the glorious
All right,
bourbon.
So
What do we
is
got?
A new bourbon. We have actually never tried this one. Again, this was recommended by the guys at Wooden Keg Liquors in Hagerstown, Maryland. So their last recommendation was spot on.
Spot on.
So
11 out of 10.
I'm pretty excited about this one.
That one's awesome.
Right,
this one is
Legent.
It
is a Kentucky straight bourbon. It's finished in wine and sherry casks.
Oh, wow.
So we are going to do the cork pop, and then we're going to pour these and see what it tastes like.
Okay.
It's in there.
Ooh,
that was a nice pop.
Oh,
That was a nice
it's so beautiful.
That was nice. Last one was kind of pathetic.
Okay, we should. Does Derek want the first pour?
I was going to do ladies first.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But, mind yourself.
Come on,
Ron.
Ron.
Sus.
Come on.
We'll see ourselves out.
Well, see yourself out first.
Dr.
Jeez.
I wonder if it'll have a nice oaty afterbirth.
We'll do a nice cheers to the Earth, the wonderful
Are you
third
ready
rock
for the
from the
reach?
sun.
We're the farthest
reaching.
away.
I got it.
Every episode.
Every episode. It's really hard. I mean, we have it's not a big table, but like we have all kinds of cords and stuff in the
We're
middle.
kitty corner from each other.
A kitty corner. All right. To Earth, everybody.
To Earth.
Earth
Yeah.
and
Earth.
science. Cheers.
Science and Earth. All
For
right.
science. All right,
Science.
everybody taste this, and we'll tell you guys on the show what we think.
Ooh, it's harsher than the last one.
Oh, it is. It's good though.
It's good.
It's good.
It's kind of got a sweet aftertaste.
Yeah.
but it's pretty
That
sharp.
Sherry.
Very sharp.
That probably is the sherry cask, the finish.
It's good.
I wouldn't say the nose is very good.
What's the can I
the
see
nose
bottle?
is very alcohol-y.
Oh, you guys know more about bourbon than I do.
This
We
bourbon.
drink a lot.
That's literally what we do on the
this
show.
is-
We drink and talk about science.
Okay, do you remember we had a debate about whether or not alcohol by volume was half of the proof? This is 47% alcohol by volume and is 94 proof. So it's half.
Oh, it's half.
I was right.
Oh my gosh. Did we just do science?
I don't think we did science.
I'm claiming it. We figured it out. Okay,
See,
so
that's why this
90
show is
proof.
important.
It is 94 proof.
Pretty good. Legion. Okay. Yeah,
But
this
it's
is
really
good.
excellent. I think it's got a sharp front.
Yeah.
It's got a really sweet back. I would drink this.
What do you
like
guys
this is
think?
a very drinkable
Do you guys
bourbon.
drink whiskey a lot or?
So I used to not be able to tell a difference,
Mhm.
but this kind of tastes similar to some of the other bourbons and whiskeys I've had. It's okay. I don't get much uniqueness from it.
Yeah, you got to be drinking bourbon for a while
But-
before you start
Before you
like
get all the
going,
flavors.
I know this.
What about you?
Yeah, no, I don't usually sip on bourbon or
I was going to say, you've got a lot of years of drinking on me because
Yeah.
you've been in the alcohol industry. But
Yeah, I usually just
But you're a
fling
beer
it
girl.
down the throat.
shots and beer.
That's the
Shots
part-
and
yeah.
beer.
You go, oh god, that guy that just came in was super disgruntled, kept looking at me weird. Vodka.
We called it maintenance.
That's what. Yeah, I have that every Friday night.
That's why we record on
That's
Fridays
pretty
so
good.
we
If
can
you
have
guys
our
do
bourbon.
want a cube, that's fine. Even though we like our science neat, we can.
And we like our bourbon neat.
We
Indeed.
do, but that's just a preference for us. So okay, today we got tons of cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to start with some coral reefs when we get right back from this quick advertisement break. And then we are going to go on and talk about a lot of really cool Earth Day stuff. And then if you guys stay tuned to the end of the episode, Janine is going to talk about some of the research she's doing right now for her PhD. And I'm really, really excited for that. So please, everybody, hang on, stay tuned. We will be right back. Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back. So we got some cool stuff coming up. You're talking about coral reefs.
Yeah, that's the
Reef-
first thing we're going to talk about.
We've never talked about that. We actually, now that I think about it, we haven't talked much about fish in general.
I know we don't go under the ocean. We did have a octopus quiz question on the first episode.
Yeah, I almost drowned when I was a kid. Does that
I know.
count?
No,
I
it
don't-
doesn't count. But today's
I float
Earth
now.
Day, and I think a lot of people have different ideas. Like some people think about recycling, some people think about, lots of different things, green energy. But we're going to talk about some of that stuff. But I want to talk about the actual Earth. I want to talk about stuff that's like here on Earth that we care about. And I think a lot of people think about conservation when
Yeah.
they think about Earth Day. And so we're going to chat a little bit, especially with our scientific experts here. We're going to talk about what is a coral reef, why is it important, and then we're going to get into some cool literature, some of the primary literature about coral reef conservation.
I do want to point out that right now, technically, I'm the dumbest person in the room.
I would say you have the lowest education level. That doesn't make you the dumbest.
Excuse you.
I agree with Dr. Rose, Ron.
Oh my gosh.
She does have a PhD.
Oh.
Yeah. Come on. Listen to me. I'm a doctor.
Yeah, and I'm just also her permanent IT support.
Yeah,
That's
Ron,
that's why you're not the dumbest one in the room, because I break my computer on a daily basis.
Also, who works for NASA here? Not
Yeah,
me.
for real.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys.
It's not us.
It's also IT support there too.
You mean cybersecurity expert and world saver.
Something like that. I was going to say, normally what happens is someone goes, "Hey, I have this issue," and I go, well, have you Googled it? And they go, "Oh, you could do that?" Like, yeah.
Next time,
can.
you should just ask him to go tell the coral reef about it. Just be like, hey, instead of talking to me, go talk to the coral reef, see if that's going to help.
Excuse me, Coral Reef. How do you feel about our oceans right now?
So what is a coral reef? Because I feel like maybe not everybody knows. So I went online, I Googled it, guys,
Ooh.
and I just looked up some general like facts of like what is a coral reef? Because I know, and I've been snorkeling and scuba diving and stuff, and like I've been in coral reefs, but I feel like a lot of people may not really understand what they are.
It's like
And
rock,
so-
right?
Well, kind of. So
Holy
a coral
rock.
reef is sort of we talk about it as an ecosystem, but the coral is actually this combination of plant and animal that builds these exoskeletons which make the holy rock, right? So the coral reef ecosystem is one of the most diverse and valuable ecosystems on the earth as far as like biodiversity. It's more diverse than the rainforest, more diverse. Like we think of like, wow, you go to the rainforest and there's, plants and animals and amphibians and like birds and everything so diverse, but actually a lot of diversity is happening under the water and we're not seeing it on a day-to-day basis. And then the coral that makes up that habitat, it's like trees make up a forest. The trees are alive and they're just as important as the animals that live in them. And so coral is actually made up of something called a polyp, which is a little animal, and it lives together with algae, which is a plant.
What? Wait, a polyp? What's that?
Yeah.
A polyp?
Do you-
Polyp.
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 Do you guys have good descriptions of polyps?
Me? No. First time hearing that
I'm
word.
like picturing right now like a little chickmunk named Polyp or something.
That's it. That's cute. Well, I think different under
Immediately goes, that's good. You're that
I mean,
portfolio.
there's different kinds, right? I
there's
think
different
of,
kinds of polyps for sure, and different kinds of coral.
picture like this cylindrical polyp shape.
Yeah, and
or-
I also know that underwater animals like go through phases, and some of them have a polyp phase. But I think these coral polyps are like that's their final phase. I think it's just like a kind of blobby.
I went
animal.
through a gothic phase when I was in high school.
Did you really?
Yeah.
We've been married
For
all
like-
these years. I
For
didn't
like
even know.
maybe 1 month, and I was like, I just don't want to spend the time spiking my hair in the morning. Yeah,
I went through like kind of a punk phase.
soft. Yeah, maybe that's what I would call it. It wasn't necessarily goth. I guess.
Did
gothic.
you have a trench coat?
No, I
Okay.
did not.
You weren't quite goth. Then.
I had like an Orange County like choppers jacket. I was like, yeah, I like choppers. I was really weird as a high schooler. I'm way cooler now.
High schoolers, it's a hard time.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
everyone looks back and goes like, "Oh man, polyps." No.
Well, okay, no, for real.
But
Polyps.
what is a polyp?
So it's like a little blobby animal. Let me Google
blobby
the definition.
animal?
Because
What?
I study
I think
birds.
like that's the most interesting thing, right? Did you know that coral was an animal?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's probably the
that was a
fun
rock.
fact of the.
I thought someone
last
just
5
took like a
minutes.
drill and like drilled into it a lot, and that's how you got coral reef.
All right, this isn't going to help you much. Polyp, according to Google, is a body of a cnidarian. So cnidarians are a group of like jellyfish. They're a group of animals that have stinging cells.
Ooh,
So a polyp
Sounds
is the
bad.
body of a cnidarian, such as a hydra or a coral. Hydra is like a jellyfish.
Captain America doesn't like
that is
them.
cylindrical in shape and has a mouth surrounded by tentacles. So coral reefs, the coral is related to like jellyfish.
So you're saying aliens?
Yep, that's what I said.
Gotcha.
Or, I just had a fun fact thought, and I'm just going to throw it in there now.
Do
Did
it.
you guys know that we are more closely related to salmon than salmon are to sharks?
What?
It doesn't surprise me,
Yeah.
but I didn't know it.
Sharks come from a really, really old lineage. They've been around since, I think, before trees and vascular plants.
I feel like your PhD advisor would take issue with you saying old lineage, but I'm going to
I said lineage.
What's
I didn't
what's wrong
say
with
the
lineage?
species
No,
or
I know.
early
What-
branching.
what-
Early
don't you
branching
make fun of
lineage.
Lineage now? Is that
No, I'm not making fun of lineage.
No.
Call
Are-
my
wait, so
portfolio
for
not
those-
diverse enough, and now you're like,
Yep, that's what I'm making fun of you.
yeah.
No, so for those listeners,
Scottish in me is
Janine
going
is in the
off.
same lab that I did my PhD in, and our advisor is an incredible evolutionary biologist, but he's very picky about his words.
He
so.
literally wrote the chapter in a book about how to interpret phylogenetic trees. So yeah.
Yeah, but it is
Gotta leave
interesting.
it at
So
that.
sharks are cartilaginous. That means they don't have bones. It's all like the cartilage in your nose. It's like rubbery kind of connective tissue.
Uh huh.
And so salmons salmon have bones,
Bony
so they're
fish,
they're
yeah.
bony fish. They have skeletons like we do, so it makes sense that they're more closely related to
Yeah.
us than they are to sharks that don't have a single bone in their body.
That was a great way to explain it. She did a better job than I could have. I just think it's a fascinating, fun fact. Fascinatingly fun.
I think it is a fascinatingly fun fact.
Hey
Anyway.
guys, I have a question.
Yeah,
Go for it.
So we're talking about corals, right?
Yeah.
How many species of corals are there?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot. Do I need to Google this?
You need to Google
How many?
this.
Yeah, I want to know.
I want to know too.
We do need to get back to polyps and algae, but I do know what algae is. That's like the green stuff. That's like
Well, it's not all of it's green.
oh,
All right.
But,
Blue
like, that's the
algae,
one I
red
think of,
algae.
Yeah, you
right?
got red algae,
Yeah.
brown
I will
algae.
There's this really cool. Okay, so I like space and stuff. There's this really cool movie that was like about Mars and stuff, and like they went to Mars and they like are terraforming it, and like they made all this algae on there. The guy's like freaking out because his helmet's like busted, and he's like, and he takes it off and he can breathe, and he's like, why can't I breathe? And he like goes and he finds like an ocean of algae, and he's like, whoa, that's how I'm breathing, bro. He
That's
talks just
cool.
like that. Yeah, I think it was Keanu Reeves. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
yeah.
Science, bro.
Derek, according to thesea.org and deepoceanfacts.com, there are 2,500 species of coral. Approximately.
500.
Yeah. 2,500.
That's a lot of biodiversity right there.
And that's just the coral. That doesn't count like the infinite numbers of fish and starfish and sharks and jellyfish and eels and all this stuff that lives in coral reefs. So the question is, if the coral's an animal, what makes up the reef? Because when we asked you what a coral reef was, you said, well, it's holy rocks, right? It's like
Yeah.
all those rocks.
Yeah.
So what's cool is that the polyps draw calcium from the seawater and form this calcium shell around themselves, calcium carbonate.
Okay.
And that is what the rocks are. So you're basically seeing like the hard protective shell of all the little polyp animals.
Whoa. Okay. that's far out. Bro.
Yeah. And the weirdest thing is as they reproduce and the new polyps live, they're actually building basically on the old skeletons of their parents. And that's why the reef is so big, like a mountain, instead of just like a single little organism.
Do you think there's like ghost like polyps and stuff? Because it's like a little creepy. Like, I mean, I don't build my house on like my grandparents.
Yeah, it's true.
Hmm.
But
Nope.
if you think about it, like my family comes from like, my family has been in the United States forever and ever
I
and
thought
ever.
you were about to
and
say
we
they
have...
built their house on.
No, but like
I was
there's
gonna
a
be like,
family
what?
farm that's been in the family since the Revolutionary War. And like one family has a house on the farm, and their kids build their house right next to it. And then the next group of kids knocks down the grandparents' house and builds a house there, and they just go back and forth.
What do you think the housing market's like for coral reefs? Do you think like
They
got,
make
like,
their own
very
house, so I feel
diverse,
like
it's
it's probably pretty solid.
it's pretty good, pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Solid.
competitive, probably.
It's definitely on the
Because they can only
downrise,
really exist in certain areas of the globe, right?
Yeah,
they have
they
a
need-
limited.
Very specific water chemistry. They need the right amount. They have to be at the right depth, so that because they need a certain amount of light for that algae.
So they can't be like deep sea.
No, they
no,
need
no.
light to photosynthesize, so they can only exist as far as the light can penetrate. I think a couple meters.
Yeah. So the
Whoa.
cool deal is the algae photosynthesizes and provides energy to the polyp, and the polyp provides that skeleton shell for the algae to live in and stay protected from fish.
So you're okay, So how many species does coral reef like hold? Did we talk about that?
Okay, so there's 2,500-ish species of coral, but what's
Yeah.
really cool is a healthy coral reef will provide habitat, feeding, spawning, that means making babies, and nursery grounds for over
Oh,
a
yeah.
million aquatic species,
A million?
including a lot of the fish that we harvest commercially. They're born and live as babies in coral reefs and then go out to the deep ocean when they're larger.
That's amazing. A million.
A million. Over a million.
1 million coral reefs.
Sounds like an important area for us to protect.
Yeah,
Preserve.
Yeah.
I was about to say, you saying photosynthesis, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what if that water's really murky and stuff?
Well,
Yeah.
it's the heat too. If the water gets too hot, right, then I think it's the algae the coral gets stressed and it'll expel the algae, and then it won't be able to
Right.
survive.
Yep.
'cause
And
it
Be
can't
like,
so-
make
it's
its
too
own
hot,
food.
bro. Get off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so a lot of that is called
Ooh.
coral bleaching. Like if the sunlight is wrong or the heat is wrong or the chemicals are wrong, the coral dies, it turns white, and it's called coral bleaching.
Like when you bleach your clothes.
I mean, I don't. I do.
Well, ideally
I
you
watch-
don't, right?
Yeah.
So why would you want to bleach the ocean?
Well, I mean, I don't. Derek.
Exactly.
I don't want to do that.
So stop doing that.
So I think I'm going to blow your mind a little more because
Okay. Do
yeah,
it.
there's a million aquatic species, and that's like wow.
Yeah.
But also, coral reefs are important for a lot of other things.
Like what?
So they provide a huge amount of food for people who live on coral reefs, especially indigenous peoples and on small islands. So like whole islands in the whole of history, like people have depended on coral reef for like hunting for fish and hunting for food.
It's like literally, I'm the guy that like back in the day, you know, I'm on Easter Island, and you know, we were thinking about building these really like cool head monuments that look like us because I was like, that's dope, you know. And then we're like, yo, bro, what are we having tonight for dinner? Oh man, we're having that fish, brother. We got so
Yeah.
much of it.
Came from the coral reef.
Look, if I was
Wow.
Tom Hanks and I was stranded on an island, I would want to be near a coral reef.
Coral reef.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would be. The other thing
Lobster.
Lobster.
is lobster. Man, now I'm craving lobster. The other thing is
I'm
that
craving more
coral
alcohol.
reefs provide an enormous amount of protection from storms, tsunamis, and floods.
Wait,
Right.
how?
As the storm comes in, because it's so shallow and built up, basically the storm and the waves break against the coral reef before they break against the mainland.
They attenuate the
Ooh.
wave.
Oh, that's
So
a
wait,
good word.
Look up that word, people.
Why don't
They-
you define it for them, Derek?
They protect us?
They protect us 100%.
Wait,
So-
so that sounds like something we really don't want to get rid of then.
Yeah, so if you've ever heard the term barrier reef, because coral reefs have to be at a
Oh.
certain, like a very precisely certain depth and sun and heat and stuff, they generally run along the coast of countries. Like there's one off the coast of Belize. There's one off the coast, the east coast of Australia. I was like, where's the barrier reef? And there's coastal, like along Florida. There's coral reefs, and if those weren't there, tsunamis, hurricanes, floods would all come in so much harder and do so much more damage. And so they're really, really important for like breaking and keeping people in coastal areas safe.
Can I just say too, though,
Yeah.
on that note, with increasing intensity of hurricanes and frequency, like Dorian in 2019, they did an assessment of the structure of the coral reef around the Bahamas, and it was severely degraded just from structural damage from that, that physical impact of the hurricane. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a whirlwind of issues.
Right. But the thing is, if the coral, the animals, the polyps aren't healthy, they can't rebuild the structural
Yeah.
damage. So we really, if you want to keep the coral reefs healthy, you have to keep it right for the animals.
So, okay, I'm going to ask you, being the control. I'm going to explain this, okay? I don't know if you guys know, but I'm the control of this group.
Okay.
I'm not dumb or anything. Gosh, I just don't know all the science stuff.
Yeah.
I know about computers, and that's numbers and coding, and they usually do what I tell them, except when you're setting up a
it
podcast.
doesn't work that way for me.
Computers? Yeah, no, not me either.
Or when you're trying to set up a podcast, you
guess-
have to like smack it a couple times, and then finally it gets going.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Is that what you do?
yeah, that's well, you watched me do it.
I was going to say,
Derek.
that's how
I
we
did.
got
Jeez.
4 mics going.
So what? Okay, I this sounds like coral reef's incredibly important. What is hurting coral reef?
Well, there's a lot of things.
What's the biggest thing? Like, if we could try to stop or get away from something right now, what would it be?
I mean, so
It's a loaded question. I
it
know.
is a loaded question. So,
but-
I mean, there's so many things. So we have issues with overfishing. We have issues with water pollution, which we are going to talk about some really cool science in a little bit, but I'm
Okay.
not quite there yet.
Okay. That's the
and-
first thing my mind went to was like all those things going across the ocean that are carrying like oil and stuff.
Yeah.
You always hear about like oil spills.
Yeah, so oil
Yeah.
spills for sure. Although I think a lot of oil spills happen deeper out in the ocean than the coral reef. Coral reefs are pretty close to shore.
Okay.
And there are also issues with like changes in salinity in certain places. That's how much salt is in the water, and also water temperature. And so there's sort of a lot of things going on in coral reefs right now. But we talked a lot about the biological benefits, but I think there definitely could be listeners who were like, maybe I don't care how many fish species are in the ocean.
What?
I mean,
Whoa.
I care, but maybe someone's like, hey, if it gets knocked down from like 8,000 to 7,000, like, why do I care? But coral reefs also provide a huge economic benefit to us.
Ooh. Okay, what? Like how?
One estimate that I found, the total net benefit per year of the world's coral reefs is $29.8 billion.
Billion?
Billion. So $9.6 billion is from tourism and recreation.
We're citing this right now, right? Like
we
that's
are.
down. I know. I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of media they talk about things and they don't cite it. We do.
Yeah. So this is from a paper
because we like science.
I'll try to link it below, but the authors are Caesar Burke and Pete Sode. It was published in 2003. So $9.6 billion are made on coral reefs from tourism and recreation. People want to go snorkeling. People want to go see them.
Because they're beautiful.
I love scuba diving, y'all. So.
I don't. So okay, I almost drowned. So like I don't. Like,
I was gonna say
in the water.
I've been snorkeling at coral reefs and I had a great time, and he did not come.
But they have those glass bottom boats.
Ooh, that's
beautiful.
pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
There's also $9 billion that are made from coastal protection. Remember, I said the hurricanes come in and they have to slow down when they go over the coral reefs. They estimate $9 billion in damages are saved every year. We also get $5.7 billion from fisheries, from fish species that are born and raised in coral reefs that then become our mate, like tuna and some of the bigger fish.
So you're saying, okay, you're talking all these numbers, and you stated a important point. You basically said, okay, even if you don't care about all these species, let's say you were evil and you're like, I don't care about the animals, we always talk about, video games done quick or games done quick. And they're always like, save the animals, don't save the animals. Everyone votes to save the animals. Who's going to say
pretty
no,
much.
don't save
I mean,
the
and
animals?
that's a video game animal.
That's a video game animals, right? So real life, most people, I think, want to save animals. I like animals a lot. I have 4 cats, I'm an animal. I think I'm cool. Anyway, so even if they were like, yo, brother, I don't like those animals, and like they wanted to get rid of them, you're telling me there's a huge economic benefit, billions of dollars.
Billions and billions of
that
dollars.
go to cities, tourism sites, all these places.
Yep, absolutely. It goes to fisheries. So if you've ever eaten fish or anything with fish in it, a lot of fish are born and raised in coral reefs. But, they grow up there and then they go out into the main ocean and we fish them there. We're protecting our coastlines. There's tourism. And then they also estimate $5.5 billion in biodiversity, representing a dependence on different marine species. So it's not just fish, but sort of everything that we depend on for food and for all sorts of different things. They estimate about $5.5 billion in worth there.
Wow. How much coral reef does our planet have?
Oh,
do you know?
What kind of units are you asking? Are you asking area? Or are you asking
I'm just like
kilometers squared? Or
let's see if Google knows.
So he asked me a question back, and I'm like, was not expecting
well,
question
she's looking
for question.
Up that too. Like, I think entire populations in some parts of the world depend on coral reefs for their, this sustaining that population. They're all of their food from those coral reefs. I'm thinking like remote islands in the Pacific and such.
Well, yeah, because also like ecotourism is so huge in some countries.
Yeah,
like Japan, they rely on like coral reefs. They rely on whale sightings, for a lot of their ecotourism for like the dives and whatnot. So I can imagine that, a lot of people are visiting those different parts of the world to see these really cool features of the sea and elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has always heard about like the Alaskan cruise, right? Like going and see the whales. I mean, we've been talking about doing that for years, and you brought up Japan. Like there's so many things that I would love to go to Japan and see. One of them being waters, because I mean, there's a lot of islands in Japan, Osaka being like one that I typically just off the top of my head know of. I mean, it brings in a ton of tourism, so it makes sense that it brings in a ton of money to those locations. That money can be used for, things we like.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, money does make our world go round. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about money and the impacts that it has on our Earth. I do have an analogy that I have talked about, and I think probably the previous episode, or maybe it was our coffee break, I can't remember which one it was, that basically Earth, if you can kind of think of Earth on a small scale, like a neighborhood, right? Like think of, like we're right now in our house. You know, it's pretty nice. We like to keep it good. Right now, we need to mow the grass. You know, it's spring. It gets crazy and it gets cold, and you're like, I don't want to mow the grass today. And then like the next day it's too hot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like, can you imagine being like in the neighborhood, right? And then the person next door to you, they just start throwing trash in their yard. You know.
Well, I live in Baltimore.
I was going to say, we just left Baltimore. So.
I don't have to imagine too hard, unfortunately.
Yeah, some Baltimore stuff is a little rough. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, can you imagine, like, living in a neighborhood and, like, the person next door to you is just, like, throwing trash everywhere? Looks awful. Well, if you own that house, it brings down your property value, right? Same thing with our planet. If I'm a human in one house and the house next to me, if you can imagine, is owned by Coral Reef, and I'm just like dunking on their Coral Reef and it's starting to look really bad, well, one day they're just not going to live there anymore, right?
Yeah.
That's a little sad. Oh.
And nobody's going to want to move in.
Exactly.
So,
and eventually your house is not going to look good and your house is not going to sell. I mean, not that we're trying to sell our planet or anything. I mean, aliens, if you're listening right now.
It's not for sale.
I will sell. Oh, it's not for sale.
I was about to say, willing to negotiate. No, I'm kidding.
Just don't blow us up.
Terraform Mars first.
I haven't found like a solid, like there's this many acres of coral reef or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But there are 23 coral reefs that are considered like primary coral reefs. There are 29 that are considered World Heritage Reefs. So these are like the bigger ones. There's a ton of tiny coral reefs. And some of the largest ones, just to give you guys an idea of how big these are, the Belize Barrier Reef, which is the only one I have snorkeled, and it was really incredible. That one is 190 miles long, and there are 100 different coral species in that reef that we know of. The Amazon Reef is the largest in the world. It is 500 miles long.
I did not know that.
And I don't know where this one is, the Tubataha Reef National Park, I think that might be part of the Amazon Reef, has 2 large coral areas, and they measure 97,000 hectares.
Wow.
So some of the reefs, especially like, and we think of the Barrier Reef in Australia also, the Great Barrier Reef, some of these reefs are incredibly huge. And so there's 23 to 29 like large coral reefs in the world, and then there's a lot of small ones. Unfortunately, I found this on a site called thesea.org, and they cite absolutely nothing. So take that with a grain of salt. But I think those numbers are probably decently accurate for the sizes of those reefs.
I will say it does make me want to go see a reef, even though like I'll probably drown. So I think I'm gonna go back to my like center and be like, "Hey, can I borrow one of those astronaut suits? Just like go down and like check things out for a little bit."
I was just about to ask how you would feel with one of those, because I know a gentleman who lives in the Bahamas that has one.
Has an astronaut suit?
Well, not an astronaut suit.
I was going to say, that's awesome.
The old school, like,
scuba
gear.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Is this a gentleman I've met while I was in the Bahamas?
No, he's on North Andros.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're going to tell Bahama stories later.
Yes,
So
we will
stay
talk about
tuned.
that because you guys did some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So
See,
we've been... Oh, go ahead, Derek.
I was just going to say, it reminds me of like those old school Scooby-Doo episodes where they come out of the murky water wearing the full-on metal, you know? Yeah.
Zoink, Scoob.
Yeah.
Row, Raggy.
Those things are terrifying.
That's really good.
Those suits.
They are a little bit.
Horrifying.
They're scary looking.
Anyway.
So we've been talking about what is a coral reef and why it's important and some
Yeah.
of our opinions, but this is a show about science.
Yeah.
And
let's
we
get
care
to
about
it.
the primary literature.
Absolutely.
So you've been asking us, so what are some of the risks of coral reef? And I told you some of the big ones we know about, like water temperatures increasing, like sun exposure changing, chemicals in the water changing, oil spills, overfishing. But this is one that I think a lot of people don't think about. The title of this paper is Bacterial Community and Environmental Factors Associated with River Runoff and the Possible Impact on Coral Reef Conservation.
Oh, no.
Are you ready for a super long list of authors?
Yeah, let's
We're
do
going
it.
to thank every single one of you guys. I feel like I should have had somebody else who speaks Spanish.
By the
read
way,
these.
for you guys, our guests, we literally list out every author.
And we
Good
thank
for you.
them.
Because, I mean, like, think about it. How many
Yeah.
times have you watched, like, a YouTube video and then be like, oh, this cool research right here that says all this cool thing, and they never mention the author.
Mhm.
Like, literally, this person has been working on this paper for, I don't know, years. Like, put
Yeah.
their life into it, and they don't get mentioned in a YouTube video? Come
Yep.
on.
Yeah.
We're better
Oh
than
my-
that.
I was going to say, they're both published authors. They know all about it.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to thank the authors, and I apologize in advance for my mispronunciations. Gustavo Voselenos, Bastos Paulina,
It's a cool name.
Ciro Ramon Felix,
Mm.
Cinta Gomez Silvan, Gary Anderson. I got that one. And Melissa Fontes Landell. So thank you guys so much for this work. This was published in Marine Pollution Bulletin in 2020.
I still stand by that every single author has a really cool name.
I still stand by the fact that people
I-
have cool names and we never call people by their full names.
I know, but like, those were really cool names.
They were, but they were also Hispanic, and I probably butchered them. So
Also,
No.
can I just say 2020? That's pretty recent.
I know.
Yeah.
I was
That's
looking
really
for
recent.
recent work. What's going on with coral reefs right now? We care about Earth Day this year.
Yeah, not 20 years ago. We were talking about right now.
Right
What's
now.
happening now in the world?
All right. And I do want to note this paper did have quite a bit of funding.
Okay, what is it?
So this paper was funded by the Brazilian National Council for Scientific and Technological Development.
Okay, they probably want to know about some things.
They had research support from the Foundation of the State of Alagoas and by Coordination for the Improvement of Higher Education Personnel in Brazil.
Okay.
So that was their funding. So they start with an introduction, like most papers do, and they say coral reefs are in decline right now. And we know that approximately 75% of coral reefs are threatened right now, which
75.
is 75.
Wow.
And so they list some of the things. They talk about overfishing. They talk about ocean acidification. So that's, you guys know
The
what an
pH
acid
level.
is, right? So the pH level is decreasing in these areas, and that's actually bleaching the coral.
And it's like base and then acidic, right?
Right.
Is that how? Okay.
And so if you guys think like, what's acidic? Like lemon juice, coffee,
Yeah,
tomato
lemon
juice.
juice. Yeah.
tomatoes, and things that are basic are like milk.
Oh, yeah,
soap.
milk.
Soap is basic, right?
Sure.
I haven't eaten it in a while, so I don't know. I mean,
What
that's how
else
I
is
tell
basic?
something's
Bases are harder, I feel like.
Basically, you don't want to be basic,
Oh,
Mm.
it's true.
but you
But
also
things
don't want to
like-
be too acidic.
Things
Derek
like
coming with the
yogurt,
knowledge.
milk, like the dairy products
Yeah.
are mostly basic, and things that are like lemons, citrus, tomatoes, that's all acidic.
So that's why I always feel better when I eat like a tomato, like just raw. Versus
Also,
like,
can I just
you know,
ask who all here sucks on lemons and limes?
Oh,
I
love
put lemon juice
lime.
in my water, but I
Yeah,
don't
we
just
actually
like.
do like
I-
baking soda lemon water.
I bite out of them.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
I
interesting.
Do you
Wow.
take the rind off first?
Well, I eat
What's the rind?
everything but the rind.
Okay. I
So
mean,
I
I think
like
most people
just
know the
bite into the
rind is the
flesh.
outside.
I
of
will
the
say I
citrus.
will get behind like some lemonade or like when the soda drinks had like the lime in them. I know they had
Mm.
like Pepsi lime for
Oh
a while.
yeah.
Okay,
Oh wait, like
this is
dark cola with lime.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that is good. Right, they give
Yeah.
lemon
Okay.
with diet
I
soda.
have to say though, this is a complete tangent. When
Also,
I was
not good for your gums.
true, when I was young, my parents had Diet Coke with lemon lime sweetened with Splenda. It was like a thing that Coke was making. It was literally like the most toxic thing ever, and it like killed any living thing it touched. Like my mom actually dribbled some on a plant, and the plant just died. And it was just like,
Wait, what? So
Yeah.
like you accidentally get on the ground. It's like the old cartoons where it just like starts going
yeah,
through
it
the
was
floor.
so, it was
You're
so
like,
bad.
"Ah, I know Coke's been bad lately, but
Right.
dang.
Yeah, no, it's not good. Anyway, so they go through, we have issues with coral reefs,
Mm-hmm.
but they were actually trying to explore if the runoff in rivers, because we know that rivers go down to the ocean. They go through what are
Wait,
called.
they do?
They do.
Oh,
All
I
rivers
hope
end at
everyone
the
knows
ocean.
that like if it comes water, eventually it goes to the ocean.
And
That's
so
how
the
it
question
works.
is, how
Yeah.
much of the pollution do we put in rivers
Right.
makes it out into the ocean and into coral reefs?
I mean, that's a good question.
So normally rivers are great for coral reefs because they bring all this sediment and all this nutrient, and it makes it down, and it is like great nutrient for plants to grow and all that stuff underwater.
Hmm.
But if the sediment and nutrients are coming down, so is probably all the bacteria. And so they were specifically looking at human sewage and the pathogen. I know it's gross. Janine's making faces. But they were looking at human sewage pathogens and E. coli and how much of things. So they were looking at the coral reefs in the Caribbean and in Guam.
Mm.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And so They were actually using this super cool new technology. I would strongly recommend that people go check out this
New
paper.
technology?
Yeah.
I'm in.
I know.
Show me.
It's linked. I can't even explain the technology. It was super, super cool, and they had like 4 pages explaining it.
Okay.
But if you guys are interested in this, go check out the paper. But basically, the new technology allows them to find out what bacteria by looking at the genetics of a water sample.
Whoa.
Right.
And so it was like a little tag, and it basically did like a super cool genetic quick makeup, like figuring out what bacteria genetics are in the water.
Like
about
the old
like a-
school, like, okay.
Like a barcode, when you scan an item, all of it pops up. I imagine that's kind of what it's like.
Like,
I think it was kind of like that.
Scan it. And it's like a turtle in this water.
Yeah, no, they were looking at bacteria, but and so they were able to look at water like right at the pollution source and the mouth of the river where it reaches the ocean,
Okay.
and then further out at sea
Okay, so
to see like kind of what bacteria
how's
was
things
surviving,
trickling
if
out?
the DNA was working, that kind of stuff.
okay.
Okay, so bacteria are a little weird. So instead of saying like this many species of bacteria, they called them operational taxonomic units.
That sounds like a
OTUs.
mission.
Yeah. So, but basically, you can think of that as like types of bacteria.
Operational.
OTUs.
Yeah, they're OTUs.
OT.
Operational taxonomic units. Because bacteria aren't like split into species as well and the same ways as
In
like
the 21st
animals.
century, operational taxon units have become the norm. Like
Yeah.
hearing Terminator 2 music.
But you can think of it as like types of bacteria. And so they
OTUs,
found
for short.
in the rivers 17,898 OTUs, types of bacteria.
Wow.
It sounds
So-
like a lot.
That's a
like
lot.
almost 18,000. Yeah. And so for those of you who like know how animals are classified, you usually have like a species, and then the next level up is genus. And so like
I don't have any of that.
What?
don't have any genus.
Oh, I thought I said genius. I was
No,
like,
no.
I don't have any of that.
No, it's genus. So what's an example of that? So like if you guys are from Baltimore and you like the Orioles, right? Like the baseball team. They play baseball, right? I'm good at
Yeah.
sports ball. But like so Orioles would be part of a genus of blackbirds. And
We're
so that
talking birds
includes
now.
like
Not
we're
the,
always
not
talking
the
birds.
baseball team.
Yeah. So this includes like the Baltimore Orioles. It includes like other species of Orioles and other species of blackbirds. So that's what a genus is. So they found 589 genera of bacteria, and 65 species of bacteria that were related to human pathogens in the
Oh.
river water.
Wait, say that number again?
So there were 589, so almost 600 genuses of bacteria,
Okay.
and 65 species. All of that was related to human pathogens.
So if humans weren't up the river.
none of those bacteria would have been there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't like in the number, like total, you're like, oh, 65 is not a lot. But like if it's a very poisonous bacteria or something,
Right.
I'm sure that's very bad.
And sometimes,
And you have
so like
tons of those, right?
we use E. coli as an indicator. So the E. coli itself is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
But E. coli in the water means there's poop in the water. And poop is bad. Like it's got a lot of other things. So E. coli is pretty easy to detect. And so they use it as an indicator for other things.
So Daryl, stop pooping upstream, dude.
Right. Well, what's crazy
Gosh,
is
he's
every
so bad
single
about it.
river they looked at had signs of human waste in it.
No.
Yeah. Every single one.
What?
Yeah.
All
Who's
right.
pooping in the river?
Yeah, which one of you is doing it? Come on.
That's it. We got cameras now. We're putting out the drones. We're gonna see who's pooping in the river.
Yeah, we
I
need
have
to
some
find out.
friends.
But wait.
I know who's doing it.
What if it's just like a pipeline or something that's running close and
It could be.
and we don't
And
know.
the thing is, remember, this is in the Caribbean and Guam. So, like, in different countries with different levels of infrastructure and that kind of stuff, you're going to have different levels of waste.
Yeah.
And in some countries, it's because there is no infrastructure and people are pooping in the river. And in other countries, it's because our wastewater might be leaking into the river when it comes out of treatment plants and stuff. I mean,
do wanna-
hopefully not.
I
But
do want to ask, this paper, it's in a journal and it's peer reviewed, right?
absolutely. Just remember, it was in the Journal of Marine Pollution,
Okay.
the Marine Pollution Bulletin, and it was published in 2020.
Because you're stating some pretty you're basically saying like, hey, you know, I mean, I know make fun of Daryl pooping upstream, but you're basically saying right now that we are impacting the environment pretty harshly with our rivers connecting cities, towns, something bad's going on, and it's happening. We might not even know about it. This
Yeah,
paper's
but if
saying,
you think
look,
about
it's happening.
deer and other animals and jaguars and wherever you are in the world, they're pooping in the river.
Did they
so
find
just because the bacteria isn't there doesn't mean we're killing everything around. Like poop in rivers, that's a thing. Fish
Right.
poop in rivers.
Right, okay.
But it's a human impact that we need to be aware of. And if we can keep those sorts of bacteria out of the river, if they're having a big impact, that's a good thing.
I mean, a deer's not eating Chipotle
Chipotle's
or
pretty.
Taco
I mean,
Bell. And I mean, let's be honest, a couple days, that's toxic. Yeah.
So the pipes are one thing, but what else is, affecting these reefs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was interesting was a lot of things get killed in saltwater. Things that can live in freshwater don't survive to saltwater. So one of the critical things this study was doing was looking at how many of these bacteria and how much of the toxins survive the transition from freshwater to saltwater. And they actually found that the saltwater had a pretty big effect on bacteria survival. So just because we're polluting a river doesn't mean all those bacteria are making it out to the coral reef, because when they hit the saltwater, they die. But some of the bacteria were making it over.
Oh, okay. And they tested for that.
Yeah, and so they found some overlap in the OTUs, the species of bacteria that existed in the saltwater estuaries at the end of the river, and the actual river itself.
We need to take out these OTUs. New mission.
So, and they also found a number of those things that survived were the pathogen-related species. So it was pretty interesting. So this is one of the first studies, I think, that has really clearly shown that upriver pollution can have a major impact on saltwater ecosystems, especially coral reefs.
So say that again. You said pathogen-related species. What is that?
So a pathogen, so this is the same root word as like pathology, which is the study of disease.
Okay, study of disease.
So
okay.
a pathogen is something that causes disease.
Okay.
Yeah. So pathogen-related species is a species of bacteria that can cause disease.
Okay. That sounds bad.
Yeah. And so a lot of them are dying with the transition
You're
to
laughing,
saltwater.
but I mean, I didn't know that. So
No, I'm not laughing at you.
Oh, yeah.
You're just funny.
Yeah.
Laughing with you,
I really appreciate it. I mean, that's the only thing I got going for me. I'm kidding.
Well, we all know bloodborne pathogens are very bad.
It's true. Bloodborne pathogens are very bad.
It's a
And
good
if
game,
there's
though.
blood and not just poop in the river, that would be bad.
So these are waterborne pathogens.
Well, so these are pathogens that survive from human waste in the freshwater. Some of them survive the transition from freshwater to saltwater as the river meets the ocean. And if they can survive in the saltwater, the tide just carries them right out to the coral reef. And so these are actually polluting the areas around the coral reef with potentially toxic bacteria.
Is there like we could analyze like those bacteria, right?
Uh-huh.
And we could potentially like have something at the end of our river that could possibly like kill those pathogens or something.
It's possible. This is just opinion at this point and no longer science, but
Right.
I think it's probably easier to stop it at the source. Assuming like individual
sense.
people aren't just going to poop in the river. Like if it's a wastewater treatment plant that's leaking, or if it's, some kind of factory that's like putting out waste, that's easier to stop at the
Or
source.
Daryl. Fucking Daryl, man. He's
If you
doing
just
shit.
keep Daryl away from the river, we wouldn't have a problem.
I know. Gosh. Go use the toilet, Daryl. Come on.
All right, so this has been a lot of fun. I think we've talked a lot about coral reefs and why they're important and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So for the three of you,
Uh-oh.
I have an Earth Day quiz.
Oh, no.
Oh man.
Are you ready?
I don't know if you guys know, but she loves throwing out quizzes
I
randomly
do.
when you don't expect it.
But
and
now you're not the only one answering the questions.
I do feel a little bit better.
Okay.
Feels like I'm in college again.
But
welcome.
because there are three of you, I'm not giving you multiple choice.
Oh.
What? How do you...
I'm not
Okay,
giving
you
you multiple
can't.
choice.
It's always C, guys. Choose C.
That's what I said last time, and then it wasn't, and I felt
It
really
wasn't.
bad.
All right.
Then I guessed C, and I got it right.
Do you guys know what is the longest river in the world?
The Nile, right?
Yeah, the Nile.
Is a 3-person consensus? Derek's being quiet.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, it is. Ding, ding,
Yeah,
ding.
yeah.
It's the Nile.
Hey.
Ding, ding, ding.
The
Good
Nile
job,
is...
Ron,
Ron, you were the first one to say it.
Good job, Ron.
He
I
knows
know
things.
something.
You said you weren't smart.
I actually just Googled it really quick.
Really fast. He's so good with
Lightning.
computers. The Nile is 4,132 miles long.
Fun.
Pretty long. All right. I'm going to skip that one. That was easy.
What's the second longest?
It's the
The
Amazon.
Amazon? That's what I was
See,
thinking.
no one ever cares about the second longest. I love how you pointed that out, Janine. Good point. No one cares about
Amazon
second
got
place.
the silver
Is
trophy.
the Amazon
Yeah.
the widest? What does that get a
I
statistic
think it is
for?
the widest.
Yeah. Okay.
And now I got a tangent question. What makes, like, if you're talking about width and then length, like what time, like what's the determining factor where it's like, okay, this is a lake now?
Rivers are always changing.
Well, it has to do with the movement of the current.
What?
So a lake, well, first of all, a lake doesn't have to connect to the ocean, but also a lake wouldn't have strongly moving water. There's actually a ton of things like, okay, so my dad is a civil engineer and does like estuaries and wastewater and all that stuff. But there's actually rules for like exactly how many meters across takes it from a stream to a river and a creek to a stream and what makes it.
It's not creek, it's crick.
Is it crick? Well, you are a country boy.
Yeehaw.
All right. I know you guys know the answer, but just for the viewers, what is the name of the imaginary line drawn around the globe at latitude 0?
The equator?
The equator.
There it is.
So the equator, we're going to be talking about latitude.
I'm glad
later,
she
but-
knew I didn't know.
All right. So latitude and longitude are like the imaginary grid that we've drawn around the world.
The grid.
Yeah. And so latitude
Tron. I'm sorry.
is the equator goes right around the middle. So
Mhm.
that runs through the tropics.
Right. I won't go there.
Okay. What word describes a bend in a river?
Oxbow?
Ooh,
or
that was a good one, but you're
hairpin?
not right.
No.
Neither of those.
A curve.
Derek, you want to throw anything out?
I'm just thinking about rubber bands right now, so skip me.
A bend.
The correct answer is a meander.
Excuse me? What'd you just
that
call
sounds
me?
too poetic.
A
Do you want to go?
meander
I'll break this bottle of
Is
liquor
a
right now.
serpentine pattern that a river forms when the. But I really liked oxbow because when a river makes such a sharp bend
Just call
that
me
it actually
names,
like
oxbow
curves
and-
back on itself. That's
Yeah.
called.
Called
That's
me
how you
algae
get an
earlier.
oxbow lake. So that was a good answer.
Rude.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
How long does it take a bottle to bob across the Atlantic Ocean?
What's
my
what's
goodness.
bobbing? Let's
What?
let's.
All right, so if you dropped a bottle in, I don't know where you'd have to drop it.
I feel
for
like
to
it
make all the
matters
way
whether
across.
it's coming from
This is some very important
Portugal?
science.
You said the Atlantic Ocean?
Atlantic.
Yeah. Are we dropping this bottle in Delaware or Portugal?
All right,
got-
just give me a rough estimate.
Wait,
How
you
long
got,
do you
you,
think it would take?
you said you know Tom Hanks, right? Give him a call. With him.
I don't know Tom Hanks.
Oh, I
but,
thought you said. What else?
All
is there a
right.
message in this
How
bottle?
long?
Message in a
Yeah.
bottle.
How long
Yeah.
would it take?
What do you think? A year?
I have no idea.
Like it might be shorter than we would, I don't
Okay,
know,
so it's
guys.
bobbing, right?
So you
They-
just drop it in the water.
Bloop.
How long does it take to get to the other side on its own power? Just like the current and the wind and whatever the Atlantic
Which is so
Ocean's doing.
variable,
I feel like
though.
this is like a
Well,
trick
it's true.
question.
It depends
like
on the
who's
side of the
very
year, but I want a
answering.
rough estimate. I don't want it down to the day and minute.
She's like, come on, guys.
It's approximately 59 days, 24
All
seconds.
right. I'm going to say a year and a half.
Year
Ooh,
and
I
a
was gonna
half?
say a year and 5 months.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
Do you want to
but
change? Do you want to throw
Yeah,
out a different
I'm
answer?
a Price is Right. Say a year and 4 months and 29 days.
Well, if this is the Price is Right, you all lost. It's a year, approximately.
Oh.
But wait, I'm the closest.
But
You
you
are
went
the
over.
I went over. Oh.
did anyone watch the
this
movie 365 Days?
I
did
did
not.
not.
Oh,
No.
Do
okay,
you
never
recommend it?
mind. I don't know. Maybe might have aged.
This is not a movie podcast.
It's been a while since I watched
We
it.
should do one. No, I'm just kidding. That's funny.
What is the circumference of Earth at the equator in kilometers?
Oh, man. I feel like that's something I should know, but I don't. So I'm not going to pretend.
Right
like
at the
I do.
equator, the fattest point, how big around is the Earth in kilometers?
Big.
Yeah, it is big. You got a number?
No. Can we
It's too
phone a
much
friend?
math for me to do
Yeah,
in my
I-
head right now.
Yeah, I don't do math.
Do you want multiple choice?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
All right. Your choices are 10,000, 40,000, 80,000, or 100,000.
It's always the higher
100,000.
number, 100,000.
Derek,
What was the one before that?
80.
80.
80,000.
You're all wrong. It's
Is
40,000.
it 40,000? I'm
It's
embarrassed.
40,000
Guys,
kilometers.
C
to the
is
equator.
not the answer.
It was B, guys.
I
Well,
always
because
C.
I specifically didn't make it C, guys. I mean,
Wait, you
that's
gamed the
prevailing
game.
theory.
Oh, that's rude. Wait, are we losing right now? I think
Yes.
we're losing.
Very
No, we're
solidly.
winning. We're always winning.
I didn't know there were losers here.
I'm winning.
You didn't know this is the loser household? I'm just kidding.
All right, guys. What percentage of the Earth is arable? This means it is capable of sustaining agriculture. So, what
Arable.
percent of the Earth's surface can have agriculture?
Okay, so you're asking like what percentage of the Earth,
Like-
not
like
necessarily
the
land,
desert is
but
not.
Yes, that's not.
Yeah, and
arable.
neither is
Okay.
Antarctica or the North Pole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I would say somewhere around like 5%,
Yeah,
I would say it's really low.
maybe
too.
lower than that.
Yeah.
Like 2%.
I'm
10.
thinking somewhere between
I'm
5
gonna say
and
10.
Man, you guys don't believe in our Earth. It's
Oh.
20.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's pretty
20%.
good.
It makes up 11.58 million square miles or 30 million square kilometers.
But there's
of Earth.
like a plant like in one spot in the Antarctic that's just like growing.
Well, I
I'm
think
just
you
thinking
guys
of all
are,
the
like-
water, you know? There's
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
think you
water in
guys
the
are
world.
like not accounting for the fact that plants are amazing and can grow in amazing places.
Right. How much of it has already been tilled?
I don't know that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
not-
probably a
not in my
scary
facts right
statistic.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. True or false? I think
Uh-oh.
you guys know the answer to this
We
one.
got a 50-50 chance.
I like that.
I like
in
those
some
odds.
places, the sun never rises or sets at least once a year.
Oh, true.
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 that's
Yeah, it's definitely true. Do you guys
I
know
thought
where?
there was more coming from
No.
some reason.
Yeah,
I was like, is this trick? Is this? I would.
So between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole,
Mhm.
and then inside the Antarctic Circle, the sun, because of the angle of the Earth, it never rises, it never sets for at least one day a year. But in a lot of those places, it's months.
Yeah.
So wait, Santa Claus, like he's chilling up there and it's
And
just dark all the time.
darkness.
It just like
a
hangs out
god.
right at
Yeah.
sunrise for like ever. Yeah, and then you have darkness for a
Wow,
while.
this sunrise is beautiful this morning and evening and afternoon and.
Okay,
Santa
true
Claus,
or false? The North Pole is on solid land.
Define
No, that's
solid
all
land.
ice.
Wait.
Solid land.
False.
Earth,
Yeah, it's
dirt.
false. False.
What do you think?
I
Brown
don't know.
Rose.
I don't. I know one of them is. I'm gonna go with false as well.
All right, you're correct. It's
Okay.
false. The North Pole is on an ice cap, but the
Yeah.
South Pole is on the continent of Antarctica.
Gotcha. Because I have seen like the NASA like videography of like the polar ice caps like melting and like coming back a little bit and melting. Yeah.
So I'm borrowing
cool.
some of these quiz questions from someone, and I
Okay.
feel like the person who made this quiz needs to go watch our survey question
Okay.
because this is a very negative question that I'm about to ask you.
Ooh,
True
do
or
it.
false? There are no places on Earth that have not been surveyed.
There are no.
The
pla-
double
gosh.
negatives
I
got
know.
me
Yeah.
confused.
Jesus.
There
So
are no
whoever made
places-
this quiz on Google, please go watch our survey episode about how to write good
How to write
surveys.
a good survey. That's not a good.
Surely there's places we have not surveyed in the deep ocean.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so you guys think there's places we haven't surveyed,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah,
are
absolutely.
correct. So even though the Earth has been thoroughly mapped, places
Mm-hmm.
like the highest mountains, the lowest valleys in the ocean, and then there's some places where there are indigenous tribes that people just haven't been able to go.
Hey, Alanis.
Sorry.
Hey, Alanis, I'm coming for you. Just you wait. I know you're out there.
All right, here's one. The location of the South Pole is constant. True or false?
False.
Do you guys agree with
that-
his
was
very
that-
adamant
that's-
answer?
Sounds
I
confident.
said
yeah.
it confidently, which means I'm right.
Yeah.
I agree with that statement.
All right.
I would
Well,
go
he
with
is right.
I agree
Well,
with
see?
It
it.
turns out
Bam!
the location of the South Pole shifts
pretty sure
about
Derek's the
33
winner of this
feet or
game.
10 meters every year.
Wow.
And that's because the size of the Antarctic ice cap changes. And so it changes the
Mhm.
polarity.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, so it's shifting around.
You actually got to be very careful with compasses, depending on the location of
Oh.
where you are.
Says the man who's taken a bunch of survival training recently.
So we should listen to him.
That's right.
Yeah, I
I'm-
mean, if a zombie apocalypse happened right now, Derek's the person. I'm gonna
Derek's our
listen to.
man.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, here's one about the tropics, so Janine should know all the answers.
What?
Okay.
All right, only in the tropics is
You got
the
this.
sun directly overhead. True or false?
Directly overhead?
Directly.
Noon.
Only
It's
in the
like-
tropics is the sun directly overhead.
Yeah.
Your answer is true?
My answer's true. I'm trying to think in certain times a year could it happen in the northern or southern hemispheres, but I'm going to say yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So only in the tropics is the sun actually truly directly overhead because of the angle the Earth is at.
So you're
it
saying
says-
all those Western films where they're like, we'll fight at high noon. They're lying.
I
It's
mean,
not
the sun
actually-
is still higher and it's still noon. It's just not directly overhead.
It's like, Bob, I thought we were going to fight at high noon. Bro, it's never high noon.
I think it's most significant for the amount of radiation that's coming in too, right?
Oh my gosh, we're going to tell Bahama stories later because that's where you do field work. But I went down there and worked with Janine. I have never had a sunburn like that. That was brutal.
And that's subtropical.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh my gosh, it
Yeah.
was
Panama,
rough.
it's bad as well.
Yeah, you did work in Panama, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I'm Irish and Scottish.
You should never go down there.
I just, yeah. It's not a good idea.
I was going to say, when you and I went to Mexico and Belize, I think you were wearing long sleeves, like you were covered up. 'Cause
Yeah.
You were like,
I'm
"There's
like
I'm
a
gonna die."
vampire. You know how like they like just go, poof, and they're just gone in flames? Yeah, that's yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to our Coral Reef section. If you guys stay tuned, we're going to be right back to talk about some cool recycling tips and some of our ideas about recycling. And then we are going to be talking about some incredible tropical conservation research. So stay tuned and we will be right back.
Hey, welcome back from the break. Yeah, we're talking about some pretty cool stuff today. It's Earth Day. We have two amazing guests with us, Derek Coss and Janine. What's your last name?
Antolfie.
I never asked for that. That sounds so cool.
It's Hungarian.
Ooh.
It's because she's published. She's got a cool last name.
I'm
No,
I'm-
no, that is not why. It
My
is
theory
cool
is-
because of my heritage.
That's true.
I don't know.
But he has this theory that people who publish
Yeah.
papers have cool names.
It just
Yeah.
sounds cooler once
does
it's
sound
been
really cool.
printed out and peer reviewed.
We're
It'll
talking
be
about,
cooler with a doctor in front of it in a couple of years.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, did you know like not just all research is done by doctors? I mean,
It's
Yeah.
true.
I didn't
Derek
know that.
did his
I-
master's
I
degree, and
legit-
he's got incredible papers out.
yeah.
How
See
many
if-
papers is your name on?
Oh my gosh, like 5 or 6?
6? Yeah.
Soon to be 6.
That's more than me.
Yeah. See, if I became a doctor, though, people would mispronounce my name as Cross instead of Coss.
Yeah. Well, what
so-
people don't know is that Derek actually did my PhD for me, and I was just there.
True fact, Cyril.
I saw her slip you like a 20 underneath the table, and that was it.
No, Derek was instrumental to all of my field work.
Yeah.
So he put in a lot of work, and he's on all my papers. You're on every single one of my papers, aren't you?
No, I don't think so.
Not the most recent one, but I think almost all the ones before that. Well, not the one with Karen either. Okay, I lied. He's on most of my papers.
Yeah, but I do want to rant for a second. Like a lot of people, like they listen to like this podcast, they see science, they like see people, and they're like thinking, "Well, I'll never be a doctor. I'll never go out and do like crazy research." It doesn't take anything to become a scientist. You can be a scientist at home.
Yeah.
Okay. You can
Citizen
do research.
science.
Yeah.
You can be a scientist. Okay.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Citizen science is incredible. I've
Shoot
been
for
part
the
of citizen
stars.
science programs. You're doing citizen science right now. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah. So it's very important that our listeners know that, you know, there's no like paper holding you back. There's nothing holding you back from actually doing science. You can do it at home. If you have a question, you're like, man, I really want to know what the answer to this question is. I mean, you can find out the answer
Ask
to
it.
it.
Yeah, you can ask it. You can find it out. You can do the science at home. The other thing is if we have any undergraduate students listening, you can be published right now.
Yeah.
Go, like, you can reach out to researchers at your university and say, hey, I'm interested in doing science. Even if I don't want to be in academics in the long run, you can sort of learn about the culture. I have 2 students in my lab. They're incredible lab technicians, and like they're undergraduates. They're sophomores in college. And they came to me last week and they were like, hey, Dr. Rose, if we work hard enough and we're here enough, can we be authors on your paper? And I was like, yeah, you guys are doing so much work because there's a lot that goes into science and I can't do 100% of it by myself. I have lab technicians, I have undergraduates, there's PhD students working on my projects now. And like, if you put in enough work, you get your name on that paper and you can be like, hey, I finished my undergrad and I went and did something totally different, but I'm a published scientist. Like I'm there. I did that. And so like lots of people can be part of this process. And So if you're, in a university system, or even if you're at a community college, you might, maybe Derek, you can talk more about this, but you might be able to reach out to local larger universities about research.
I also want to say, you don't have to be in a university to do science, right? So citizen science, people are all across the world. So two big apps, right, that people use to identify species. iNaturalist, ever heard of it?
That's a great
Yep.
one.
Good one. Specifically for birds, eBird.
Yep.
Checked it out.
Yeah, eBird's from Cornell, and they actually use that data. People, just everyday people, report data into that app. Like, hey, I saw this species here. I saw this many of them at this time of day, at this season.
Mm-hmm.
Researchers at Cornell use that data for their research.
And how much fun is it, like, if you were a family, right, and you're, like, going and traveling and seeing, like, I don't know, if you're going to Belize or something, and there's some birds down there, and you're like, you know what, let's pull up the eBird and, like,
See what the choices are down here, because
then-
people have reported it.
That's literally Pokemon Go.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to
for
say,
real
Real life
birds.
Pokemon Go.
when you want to fill out the Pokédex, instead you can fill out your iNaturalist species list.
And I'll be
Yeah.
honest, like, before we got married and all that stuff, like, we legit, like, I'm a computer nerd. Like, I go watched anime and I played video games and I was like a nerd, right? And then she's like, hey, yeah, I study birds. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. And then it's like, hey, you want to go birdie with me? I was like, yeah, sure. I really like, she's really cool. She's hot, like, I want to check out some birds with you. And, like, little did I know, like, I was actually really good at sighting birds.
I was going to say, you don't even use the binoculars. He'd be like, whoa, did you see that? And
Wow.
I'd be like, no, of course I didn't see it. What are you talking about? He'd be like, way back there in that tree, super far away. And I saw it move. And I'd, like, put my eyes, like, by my binoculars up and be like, oh, that's a yellow-billed cuckoo. Like, that's a super rare bird. And that's super, super cool. And I never would have seen it by myself.
So,
But-
go ahead.
But what happens if you don't know the species? Well, eBird, they have some functionality, but iNaturalist, I think, is good if you, maybe you don't care about birds. Hopefully you do. But iNaturalist, you can actually take a photo
Of, like, plants.
Of
And,
plants?
like, if you see a
What?
salamander.
turtles,
and, like, yeah.
salamanders, whatever it may be. Maybe you can get a good picture of a bird too on your nice camera, submit it to iNaturalist, have it use recognition technology. Maybe it'll give some good guesses, but then professionals can actually look at
Comment.
that photo,
No way.
comment, and then identify that species.
So you can
Yeah,
legit
absolutely.
actively, like, work to help science.
You can
Yeah.
actually get research grade
Yeah,
identification.
and it actually identifies, like, oh, hey, this person, like, is a researcher in geckos, and that's a leopard-tailed gecko or something, and they'll comment. And then it helps science because you're saying, hey, I saw a leopard-tailed gecko, research grade certified at this location, at this time, at this date. And so it teaches us a lot about conservation and distribution of animals and plants and all that stuff.
So you mean to tell me, like, Earth Day right now, we're talking about an app that anybody listen to this podcast,
download it.
download it,
Yeah.
and they could contribute to actual scientific research.
Yeah.
And I actually, for a while, I thought about leaving birds and working on geckos, and I know nothing about geckos, but I actually used iNaturalist to, like, learn a lot about geckos and distribution. I was working on color, which is, like, another cool way that animals signal to each other is what color they are. And so I was going from bird song and that kind of communication signal to gecko color, and I didn't even know where to start. And iNaturalist was an incredible resource for me, and it's just everyday people taking pictures of stuff and being like, what is this?
So instead of using Instagram, I could use iNaturalist and actually help out
100%.
society.
And it might sound like we're trying to, hype up iNaturalist and eBird.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but
not a sponsor.
not a sponsor, first of all. And also, there's
But if you
so
do-
many other sources. Google citizen science. Check out, like, NASA's portal. There's a ton of resources that you can check out, projects that people are working on, researchers, scientists, and you can help out some of those projects from your own home and support science. So,
So
just
like,
check it out.
So when I'm saying, like, because I this is mind blowing to me, because I literally was just thinking, like, look, I come from a normal background. I'm not like, I didn't have parents that were super, like, PhD doctors or anything like that. I just went out and was like, I really like computers. I'm going to go do that. Didn't go through academia, so I'm, like, not that kind of groove, right? But you guys are telling me, like, I could go out and actually attribute to science, help out. even though like I'm not like this person that's gone through academia, become a doctor and all that stuff.
Go to your local park, go to in the nature preserve, take some photos, identify some species,
There's also a lot of local, like, not apps. Apps work on like an international and national basis, and that's incredible.
Right.
But there's also like, we've been living in Baltimore a long time. Janine and Derek are still local in the area. And like the Maryland Biodiversity Project, that's just a local group of like mostly adorable old people.
That's right.
Who just go out on hikes and catalog the biodiversity of the United States of Maryland.
It's gonna be us in like 50 years.
I know it probably is. One of my like
look
best
at
work
that
friends
yellow cuckoo
and work mom is like in part of the Maryland Biodiversity Project, but they catalog mushrooms, algae, insects, and like mammals, birds, everything, plants. And researchers use that data, and they're actually figuring out, like, if you ever Google, like, how many species of plants are in Maryland, like, where do you think that data comes from? It's literally, in this case, from everyday people. Like, I think the guy who runs it's like an engineer who, like, he doesn't do anything biology related, but he's just like, I love plants. Plants are awesome. I love insects. And so the everyday people can have a massive impact on the knowledge we have about our world.
It's really interesting. You mentioned like everyday people, but I'm gonna be really nerdy for a second. You guys are gonna be like, "Oh gosh, Ron's such a nerd," and that's fine.
Nerds are cool, y'all.
Yeah.
That's right. You guys ever watch Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, so David Tennant is like one of my favorite, right? He's
I think
I
he's
long
most
see.
people's favorite.
He's so cool, right? And there's
Who's
like
out there for Matt Smith? Just
Me.
saying.
I mean, Matt Smith is
They're
pretty
both
amazing. too.
good.
I was
They're
gonna
both
say
good.
Tenet has a special place in my heart, but Matt Smith is my favorite.
But the
I have
doctors.
not seen it, just FYI.
Oh,
you
gosh.
need to.
Yeah.
It's
I've
good.
heard. Yeah.
So the doctor does this thing, right, where he always talks about humans. He's like, I always come back to humans, and he's like, it's just because the human race is so fascinating. They're always wanting to just go that extra step, do that more. Like, I want to discover more. I want to see more. I want to know more, and talk about, that human of like, manifest destiny, trying to get out there, trying to discover, we want to know, hey, is our world round? It's not flat. Just letting you know from the NASA standpoint.
Sorry,
It's not
flat
flat.
earthers,
No,
but you're
sorry, flat
you're kind of
earthers.
wrong.
Yeah, I'm not going to get political on you, but anyway, on that part, you are wrong, unfortunately. But anyway, but he always talks about like, man, humans. I love humans because you are all so wonderful. You all have that urge, that burning desire in your heart to go out there, discover your world, the universe, everything around. And I feel like that is one of the reasons why we started that podcast, this podcast, is because I'll Take My Science Neat is not just about like, oh, we're going to talk about science, guys. Hey, look, science over here. It's more like, no, we're here to inspire you. Hey, did you know coral reefs, like, there's a ton of things that have to do with it?
Yeah,
and, like,
it's pretty cool.
The amount of species that's in it, and like we could be affecting it right now. No, you didn't know that because no one talks about it.
Yeah, we want to get people excited about this cool stuff. And I think right now there's not much discourse in our society
No, there's
about
not.
science. And I feel like people who aren't in science, in academia, maybe don't get to hear this information as much as they want to.
And there's
You know why?
Why?
What's that?
Because it's so technical all the time.
It
Yeah.
really
Good
is.
point.
Oh, well, we'll talk about all this science, all us up here, but you average Joes
Operational
down there.
taxonomical units.
Exactly. Like, and that's a term that I actually
You're
can't
British.
stand. Yeah, they're. Well, I mean, maybe they're South African. Or
Also,
Australian,
how many?
Australian.
Yeah.
I don't know why
Ooh.
I slipped into an accent.
Yeah,
I
how
gotta
many-
be
how
honest.
many-
It's because Ron started it.
It's
How many
the doctor.
British and Australian viewers do we have? I want to know that.
I definitely know we have some viewers in Taiwan and Russia.
Ooh.
So
Yeah, we do.
definitely
Aw.
international.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right now
How
we're
do you say
sitting very
hello
close
in
to.
Russian? I forget.
I don't know.
No, Niet is no.
You can definitely.
You're
Das
really
Vida-
cute.
Das
We need to
Vidania
hang
is-
out. Is that how you do it in Russian?
How the
That's
heck
weird.
do you say hello in Russian?
Well, can
it's
you-
not relevant.
Can you
right
do
now.
it in Mandarin? Because I feel like.
Ni hao.
Okay, there we go.
There it
There
is.
you go.
I think
Yeah.
I don't know if
I was
going to
say
is right.
your
but-
Chinese is a little bit rusty,
sounds
but
right.
Ni hao. I don't remember how the tones.
But what I was going to point out is that the doctor, right?
yeah,
And we mentioned like, oh, science being reserved for like the upper class and all people that know all this
well, they
technical
call
stuff.
it the ivory tower.
Ivory Tower, right?
Like you're
That's
up in
the
your
thing,
ivory tower
is that's
reading your books.
totally a figment of your imagination. Okay,
Yeah.
there's no such thing as an average Joe. I come from retail. I've met a lot of different people.
Yeah.
There is not one of them that is average.
Yeah. I bartended for a while, so I think I know where you're coming from.
Exactly. And that's a really bad term. That's like a term that really deters people from even being interested in science to begin with.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as average Joes. We're all humans. We all have this really big brain. We are all capable of learning.
Yeah.
And the Doctor Who, it's called the Doctor for a reason. You can watch the show and find out. But he points out, I love humans because they're capable of discovering. He didn't say, oh, I only love the ones that end up becoming, having PhDs or bachelors or, associates. No, he has like Rose with him, and Rose was a retail worker.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that there's no such thing as an average person. Everyone's unique on this planet. Everyone is capable of actually going and doing science and helping out the world, which we're talking about today, Earth Day.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ron. That was an important point
Earth
to
Day.
make.
That's the only time you can get a heartfelt moment from me.
Yeah.
That's it.
All
No,
right.
it's super important.
But I think we've been talking a lot, Earth Day is different to different people, and we've been talking a lot about conservation. But I think a lot of people think about things like recycling and green energy when they think about Earth Day.
Mhm.
So I want to kind of transition to, are these things important? What do each of us do? What do each of us think about? And so I sort of want to talk about recycling and sort of focus there for a minute.
So I do want to point something out. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people who are like, well, all that recycling jazz, and you tell me that global warming thing, I don't know if I necessarily believe in that. There's people out there that are like that.
We live in West Virginia. He's showing you his real accent.
There's
I thought that was
okay.
a Texan
He was
accent.
looking at me. I'm like, hold up here.
Yeah, she's just close as once. But I mean, there's people that think like that, and then that's all fine. You can think however you want. We're not going to tell you how to think, right? But we are going to tell you that, again, the Earth is like a neighborhood. You need to be a good neighbor, right?
If the neighbor's
Yeah.
throwing trash in their yard, you don't really like it. And if the neighbor is plants and animals and the rest of the organisms we share this universe with, they maybe don't like it when we throw a lot of trash.
I
in
don't know
their backyard.
why, but I just had like this thought of like a deer who like is totally aware of like someone who's just being like super trashy, throwing trash in their yard, and like they all have like a club or something. A bunch of deer get together and go like, oh, so, hey, that Joe guy? Yeah, that guy. We're gonna go poop in his yard a lot, like a lot. But I mean like a lot. So they like go, they poop on his grass and all that stuff. He's like, why do these deer keep pooping in my grass? It's because they don't like you, bro. Because you keep hurting their environment.
Yeah. So we've
I don't know why
actually
I
found
thought
out
of it.
recently that our recycle place isn't actually recycling plastic.
Ooh.
So
Yeah.
for a long time, we've been taking. So already
Really
where
mad.
we live, the
Was really
recycle
mad.
doesn't get picked up. We have to go the extra mile and take it to the recycle center, which is fine. We do, but we've been taking plastic there this whole time, and then suddenly they came out with an announcement, and they were like, "Just kidding. We haven't been recycling your plastic this whole time, and now." We're not even going to accept plastic. So we've tried to make, because we were drinking like soda in bottles and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Or pop if you're in the Midwest.
Pop.
Pop.
Pop. I'm from the Midwest. I just have to throw that out there. But so we've
Represent.
tried to now like go to aluminum cans, but now we sort of like kind of distrust our recycle place.
Yeah.
We're like, how much of that are you really recycling?
Mhm.
So if you actually go listen to our patron coffee break from last week from the survey episode. Oh no, sorry, the pollinators episode,
Mm-hmm.
the associated coffee break. We talk about how we're using aluminum cans and like melting them down and actually like trying to recycle them ourselves. But I think, what are some of the other ways that you guys recycle? Like Janine and Derek, like, do you think this is important? And are there any things you guys do in your life to sort of recycle and reduce either your carbon footprint or your trash output or anything like that?
Yeah. I can go, or Derek, you can go.
Go ahead, Janine.
So, my sister's can attest to this, but I've been on quite the kick lately. I've almost knocked out plastic completely out of my bath routine.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
I guess so. I try to reduce, reuse, recycle. This would be reducing plastic, so reducing plastic packaging. And really, it comes down to like a Google search word in your search term. You know, if you're shopping online, just like sustainable packaging or whatever, there's shampoo bars, there's conditioner bars, there's shaving cream bars, there's razors that, you know, you can just use the old school razor blades with. So I use that. You know, sometimes you have to be willing to sacrifice like how well your tool works. I kind of got mad at my dad once when I bought him the soap dish that comes in a wax pod, and he's like, well, if it doesn't work as good as my Dawn dish soap, I'm like, well, Dad, you got to make sacrifices, man. That's what this is all about. It's not going to be easy,
Right.
You know, to make these changes. And actually, our friend Michelle put it really nice because Lush is a good company, but they're expensive, and that's where I get a lot of my shampoo bars from. And the burden is on the consumer, which is a bummer. But there's, you know, if you just put that extra search term in when you're shopping and you make that effort, you might find something, and slowly you can eliminate plastic from things like, you know, shampoo bottles and stuff. That adds up. I don't know how many shampoo bottles you go through a year, but I would go through quite a few.
We go through a lot. We try to buy the larger bottles so that we're going through fewer actual bottles because, you know, the volume inside is not equal to the surface area and that kind of stuff. But like we still do use plastic shampoo, and so like, well, the bottle is plastic.
You brought up a really good point,
and
I don't think people realize, especially nowadays, you know, with like big tech and stuff. Like people don't understand. Like me and you, Derek, were kind of like talking, you know, the other day about, or earlier today about like big tech and its influence and Google and all that stuff. The average person doesn't realize like how much like we are basically controlled. And you brought up a really good point about, hey, I don't really support all this Dawn stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's this whole, this term right now called cancel culture. I don't believe that that's cancel culture.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that right now. It's called voting with your wallet.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, I don't like this product, what do?
You don't buy it.
You don't buy it, right? You're
High
like,
five.
High five.
Yeah, you're like, hey, I'm going to go buy another product.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So I'm going to ask you a question.
Go
Why do you
for it.
think Tesla right now is selling a lot of cars? Like Tesla right now, I don't know if you guys know, but Tesla is actually the number one most, has the most money as a car company.
And
They're the most valued car company.
They're the most valued.
And how many models do they have? Are they all the like completely electric? Like how
Yeah.
much
all,
is a
all
Tesla?
completely
A
electric.
Tesla's actually, I think, reasonably
pretty
priced
cool.
these days.
I was
Yeah.
thinking like 75 grand or something.
Oh no, there's Teslas that are like 40 grand.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're more reasonably priced for cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, people are wanting to move to green energy, and in places where there are electric pumps, people are really trying to
But
do
let's,
that.
let's be honest, like Teslas look cool.
They
do.
do.
They
I
look
rode one
cool.
once.
Okay, but
when-
Right?
Teslas look tall. Does anybody think they look like somehow it's a sedan, but it looks like an SUV? And I can't. There's a lot of Teslas in the DC metro area, which
Right.
is I work there, so
But my point is, people are voting with their wallet.
Yeah,
they're
people-
making money.
they are.
And all these other companies that have been around, we were talking, Derek, right? This is like Ford and GM and all these companies. And I asked you, I was like, why haven't like we've been talking about like a global warming for like the last 40 years or something? How come none of these car companies have done anything? And then all of a sudden Tesla shows up and says, oh, you know, this green energy thing, we think it's important.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, boom, lots of money. They're number one within a couple of years.
Yeah. It's
So-
pretty incredible. I think it's important to vote for your wallet, and I
So
think
you-
a lot of people are.
People voted with their wallet, right? They were
Yeah.
like, yeah, we support that cause. It's almost like if I was a company, I was like, you know, I think the consumer would do really well like liking this.
Yeah.
But it's almost like maybe I should think about what maybe they actually want.
Yeah.
We all want a good planet. I don't think
Yeah, we
there's
do.
anybody on this planet that's like, you know, I really want a planet that's
Yeah.
gonna like
I agree
blow
with that.
up in a supernova.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
anyone wants this planet to be like completely wrecked. You know, even the person like, you know, your dad that might be like, oh, I like Dawn soap more or whatever, right? Like that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I
like
do
that.
want to jump in.
But-
So Dawn dish soap does come in a plastic container, But actually, we were talking about oil spills earlier and coral reefs.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Dawn is an incredible company. Dawn dish soap is what is used to clean up all of the animals that have oil in their fur and feathers.
That's true.
Because it is incredibly good at cutting grease, and it's actually, and they actually, if you buy the blue Dawn, that money goes. It's got the little, I think it's a duck.
The duck.
It's a duck on the front. That money goes to cleaning up animals and oil spills. So,
Again, not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor, but like I don't want to throw Dawn dish soap under the bus. Like,
no.
it's a
I would
plastic.
just love to see companies like that, like follow this trend.
Yeah,
and I think that's coming soon. But yeah, you're right about that, and I'm glad you brought that point up because that's a good...
So Dawn dish soap, if you are against the plastic, you don't have to buy Dawn dish soap. But if you do buy Dawn dish soap, consider the blue bottle with a duck on it, because that money goes to helping animals, and so maybe you're mitigating your plastic bottle in some other ways.
So I'm going to make one more point. Okay. So we talk about voting with your wallet.
Yeah.
How important that is, right?
Yeah.
And we're like talking about Teslas and how you were like, hey, I'm not going to do that Dawn soap stuff because they don't agree with their plastic. That's awesome. Okay. So Tesla, we were talking about Tesla. All of a sudden they're doing really well. How do you think these other companies are thinking, seeing Tesla all of a sudden skyrocket?
I think they're thinking they need to get on that green energy bus.
Right? So it's almost like if we vote with our wallet,
like a trickle-down effect.
It's going to trickle down. People are going to go, well, you know what? They're really into green energy. We want to make money because money makes us happy. Maybe we should do what they want. And I feel like a lot of companies fail at just trying to figure out simply with a survey or two, like what their customers actually want. Like, I don't like when we heard about the whole plastic thing here in West Virginia, they were like not doing, we immediately were like aluminum cans. That's it. And I even like started researching like how to recycle plastic, if there's a way I could do that at home, because I don't want, because of money, my plastic to just like go into a landfill.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And there are like, we still buy our shampoo in plastic bottles, and I do buy the blue Dawn dish soap. And like, there are things we have in plastic bottles, but the places we could cut it out, we tried. We tried to buy some things that come in glass bottles. We switched to we switched to buying cans instead of bottles for our sodas, and like those are things.
I know a lot of people that use like bamboo straws.
Yeah, or have metal straws.
I have bamboo toothbrushes.
Yeah,
so I hope I didn't come off too judgmental. What I really meant to say, or my point is that there's options. There are alternatives for most products, and there's little ways that maybe you can find something that you're comfortable with your daily routine that you can change, and just little by little.
I hate capitalism.
And Derek, you were saying
exactly. Like that's what we have a society for. If we're like, yo, this is a way better way of life. Yeah. If we were in a worse economy that was like, socialism and communism, we wouldn't have the option of buying a bamboo straw. We do with capitalism.
Yeah.
Derek, you were saying earlier, you were talking about reusable grocery bags. So we're talking about like little ways in our life that we can make a difference. So what do you do to recycle or try to make a difference in your life?
Yeah. There's so much, and I'm like not, I could improve on myself so much.
I
right?
think we
we all can.
Dude,
right?
I literally could be working out and improving myself. I don't do it, so
and it'd be super simple things to reduce our carbon footprint. For example, you could take shorter
showers.
Shorter showers.
That is my
mouthful.
Guilty pleasure.
I know, me too.
Yeah. Who likes to take long, hot showers?
We just got our hot water heater replaced. I am like reveling. I've been taking the shortest showers in the world for the past couple months, and now I'm like, hot water. I'm going to take like a 20-minute shower, but I really need to cut it out.
Me too, Dr. Rose. Me too.
I'm super like military and like, okay, I got 10 minutes. Let's do this.
Oh my God, 10 minutes would be the longest shower you've ever taken. He's
like, I'm really quick.
Yeah.
Not me.
I'm good. I mean,
super fast.
I'm clean.
It's like
you've also switched to like new organic soaps with less packaging and less that kind of stuff. You mentioned
plastic bottles. I was like, okay, I don't want. If plastic's gonna be bad, I don't want plastic soap. I was getting like I don't know what the gentle touch
we have
stuff
like
from
soft
Walmart.
Soap body wash in a plastic
soft
bottle,
soap,
and he switched to like a local company that's like
nice.
making organic bars of soap from like goat's milk.
I'm
and
like
that kind of
literally
stuff.
as middle of the road as it comes,
Yeah.
like politically, and like literally, I've done the thing where I'm like, I totally support the environment, but I also want to support local companies. Like
Well,
I
yeah,
literally
That
did
is supporting the environment
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
then you're not shipping across the country.
Yeah.
Or, you
Yep.
know.
or across
big
the
thing.
ocean.
Yeah, which 90% of world trade is by shipping.
By
I
shipping.
just heard today.
Think about the produce you're buying that's
Yeah.
coming from, California or across
Yeah.
the seas,
Oh my gosh, we love our local farmers market.
Oh my
That's,
gosh.
like, incredible.
We
But-
literally,
And we live in apple country, and all the apple blossoms are blooming right now. It's the
Oh.
most
beautiful.
beautiful thing in
Nice.
the world.
Going back to the little things, one of the biggest things you can do, everyone buys groceries, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all
For
need
sure.
food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh. What about reusable bags?
Yeah, 100%. I think
Whoa.
a lot of
Huge.
places.
Whoa.
So many people, go to a grocery store, they're driving, they have their car, or they're going off of work or whatever, and they're buying groceries, but they're like, I have to use these plastic bags. Plastic bags, right? Not good.
Yeah.
That's true.
Maybe, you could keep a reusable bag in your car at all times.
Yeah. You got to keep it in your car because otherwise you'll forget.
Otherwise,
No,
you'll forget.
We have,
It's
we
so
have a
true.
reusable cold bag that I used to always like. I'd never have it with me. Like it was always be
Mhm.
like, oh, it's in the pantry at
Yeah.
home. I always,
Your heart's in the right place, but-
no.
Also, it doesn't help if you keep buying reusable bags because you forget your
Your
reusable
reusable
bag
bag.
at
Yeah.
home.
It's
So
not
just,
helpful.
keep it handy, people.
I
Yeah.
wonder if like
Make it a habit.
Yeah, make
there
it a
needs to
habit.
be like a system.
I used to be
where-
bad at it.
Yeah, where it's like, oh hey, I go to grocery shop. We do it on Sundays, right?
We do
Mhm.
most of our grocery shopping's on Sunday.
So what if like, hey, we got our groceries on Sundays? What if we made it a habit? Like as soon as we get in, we drop all our groceries on the table. Just and we
Yeah.
do it from at least a 5-foot distance. That way, everything's
Toss it.
damaged.
Yeah.
Toss it. We
The
throw it at each
eggs
other.
are gone.
Simba's running around, meow, whatever. But then we're like, as soon as we got that bag, we go and like we put it next to the door.
Yeah.
Or we go and we
Yeah.
just literally stick into our car.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that would be a really good idea. I think now that especially the pandemic, like really made us organize our lives a little bit
Yeah.
on like what days we did things. But before it'd be like, ooh, we're out shopping and like, oh, we're right next to the grocery store. We might as well
Mhm.
stop. And it's like, oh,
Right.
the reusable bags at home. And so I think Derek's point, like leaving it in the car is a good idea. But now that we've really organized our lives, we're very streamlined because we only want to go to the grocery store once. Like
Yeah.
for the
I
whole
hate
pandemic,
going to
we
the
didn't
grocery
want to be in the
store.
grocery store every
It's a
5
chore.
minutes.
Yeah.
And so
Pandemic or not, who
Yeah,
the
you're
hell
like,
wants to go to the
oh,
grocery?
gotta deal with people, and then I gotta like, and it's like weird going down the aisle, and they're looking at
Yeah.
you like, well, you gonna get
Or
on the other
they're
side, or
looking
am
at
I?
the spice rack section that you're trying to find something. I'll
It
just
takes a
frickin'
while,
wait.
okay, Janine?
yeah, I was going to
takes
say
a
it takes
while.
a
And then
long
if you're-
time to find the spice you're looking
Right,
for.
and then if you're like mask conscious, you see some people that are like without masks, and you're like, bro,
Or they've got a pull down under their nose.
Yeah,
And you're like,
yeah.
All right, who out there is leaving their mask on their mouth but not the nose? Come on.
I mean, okay, but in their defense, like
I've
if they're
seen
like
it.
me and have like a really bad dust mite allergy,
okay.
I could see it.
Or
But
in their
I
defense,
still social distance.
if
bro.
they're
Glasses.
like me and they forgot their good mask and they're wearing the extra car mask that smells like crayons, which happened to me today, I was like, I'm going to die if I have to keep breathing this in. But luckily we were at a restaurant that let me, like I could take it off when
Yeah.
we sat down.
we were talking earlier, and I was like, there's 2 studies that I really I'm hoping they're doing right now. You guys are scientists. I guess I could be one too. if
Somewhat,
I really want to.
you know.
Yeah, somewhat.
Every now and then.
Somewhat. I've only been to Panama doing research, in the jungle. Like no
My
big deal.
friends made fun of me for always mentioning Panama, so.
Well, your friends sound really lame.
Your Panama research was
They're
Yeah,
jealous.
I'm
jealous,
kidding. That's
Derek.
awesome.
They're good people.
They wish they were doing.
You said
cool
Panama, and I
things.
was
Tell
like,
them to
I don't
listen
even-
to this podcast so we can tell them they're lame.
Yeah,
I'll
No,
take-
we don't.
I'll
No,
share
we
it.
don't want to tell them that. if
all
they're
300
listening.
people that have listened to this thus far, they're all like, those people are lame.
You're
for
friends with
thinking
No,
that.
Yeah.
Derek's friends, you're not lame, but it's super cool that he went to Paraguay. I understand you're jealous. I'm jealous too.
I'm jealous too.
We're all jealous.
or
but
not
there's-
Paraguay, Panama. I went
Panama.
to Paraguay.
Paragliding, that would be fun.
But there's 2 things I would like, study wise, coming out of the pandemic. One, all right, our carbon footprint. A lot of people haven't been going into work.
You can calculate that yourself, you know?
What?
Yeah, go online, check it out. There's
Actually, we might
plenty
throw
of-
a calculator
Yeah.
down in the description.
That's a
because
great
Janine
idea.
was just working with one the other day,
Do it,
so
do it.
Yeah.
we'll
'Cause,
try
like,
to throw that down.
Currently,
in the
right
description.
now, I don't go to an office. I work from home. I'm completely remote. There's really no reason for me to go to the office.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to. I would like to,
Yeah.
maybe once a week or twice a week to go see, my coworkers, basically my work fam.
Yeah.
Represent.
Fam.
Get a chain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my carbon footprint is so much lower.
Yeah.
So much lower because I'm not driving 30 minutes to an hour to, for us, it's like an hour and a half because we live out in the country, of putting that CO2 up in the air. And we haven't gotten to Tesla yet or electric vehicles. Come on, Toyota, get with it.
Well,
They're working on hydrogen.
So I would love to see the impact on CO2 because there was a myth that in China, the emissions had gone down so much because of the pandemic
right.
that their cities had become defogged.
Because they have so much smog.
Did you guys see
I
that?
heard that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
just-
You lived in
believe-
China for a while,
Yeah.
so
I believe it. They had to regulate who could drive on what days. I don't know if that's still a thing, but if your license plate ends in whatever, you can only drive on Tuesdays and Thursdays or something like that. There's so much vehicle traffic.
Well, okay, so here's an interesting point though. We talked about Earth Day and then we talked about climate change and all these things. And people get really depressed,
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, we're doing all these bad things, what can we really do? And I think it's important to remember, all the small things that we've been talking about are really important.
they all add up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Totally.
maybe you can't make certain changes. That's fine. Do what you can do.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't, maybe you have to eat meat. Maybe that's the thing you have to do.
Yeah.
But maybe you can cut out meat.
Meatless Monday.
Yeah, Meatless Monday. Maybe to do that, just small changes
Yeah.
really add up,
Make a
Should we
difference.
actually for a minute just say why cutting down on meat
Do it,
could be
Janine.
important?
Yeah.
So
yeah, tell us about it.
yeah, a lot of the greenhouse gases come from the production of meat, right? There's the planet's not meant to support this many carnivores.
What?
Carnivores being humans, right? So all of these cattle, they're not just raising the cattle, but the food to raise and feed the cattle. All of that is, food production is the number one, or no, I'm sorry, maybe not the number one. I'm not quite sure, but it's the number one. But it contributes 25% to greenhouse gas emissions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so cutting back on meat, it's the way to contribute to that, essentially. So yeah, your steaks have a high cost when it comes to carbon.
But I think red meat is
red meat's
is
the
a high,
worst.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so chicken and
Chicken's
fish,
better, fish is
especially- yeah.
best.
Well, just think about how
Bugs
much
are the best.
how much land use is
Yeah.
used for livestock.
Right.
So much. So much.
Yeah, and
But
not
it al-
only sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say all of this is a pros and cons. Yes, it helps if you cut back on beef, but it's also the style of living. I don't think any person is. I mean, there are some people who are like, "Oh, I'm totally vegan for
Right.
purposes of the environment." But I think everybody has to weigh the pros and the cons in
Yeah.
their
For
own
sure.
life.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so, maybe if you're no way, I'm not. I love bacon. I'm not cutting
Oh,
back
yeah.
on. I love burgers. If you're not gonna do that, then maybe consider hey, I always use a reusable grocery bag. I try to do glass
Yeah.
instead of plastic. I try to do this instead of that. I try,
We're not telling you to eat insects, people. But
Janine
maybe
is.
you do
Janine said
eat.
that.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
You're not like Bill Gates, oh, synthetic beef. We're gonna go to synthetic beef and never eat real beef ever again.
You
I
know,
would be sad.
I saw that and was like, excuse me, sir? I was like, I don't like putting fake stuff in my body anyway.
right.
If the future calls for barbecued crickets, though, I'm down.
If I
Yeah, I
have
would
to.
try that.
Salt them up a little bit.
Salted,
they might be.
I don't know.
There's this incredible grocery store in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is where I grew up. But there's this one section that's all different kinds of insects and tarantulas and all
I'm
that
down.
stuff that's all fried and candied. And every time we walk by, I'm like, ugh.
Like,
so gross.
is there somebody that's like eating a steak like every night for dinner? That
Probably.
person needs to
Maybe.
stop.
I think there's
Probably.
definitely someone who's eating a burger every night for dinner.
So-
Wait, I had 2 burgers today.
I had a burger for lunch.
Well, I had a burger too.
I was like,
Guys.
that's not normal. I should not eat
Oh, no.
2 burgers in one
I was
day.
gonna
Oh,
say,
no.
but I haven't had a
We're
burger.
hypocrites. No, I'm
I
kidding.
haven't had a burger in forever, but I
Yeah.
was like, we went out to this local farmers market that like is all locally sourced, like meat and vegetables and all that stuff, and it was so good.
Yeah.
I have no regrets.
But we also eat only one time a day.
That's true. We do.
We fast.
Well, we're not speaking for Janine and Derek.
Yeah.
Derek
Yeah.
definitely.
I eat like
At least 5 times a
This
day.
man weighs
I've
10
seen you.
pounds, and he eats at least 5 times a day.
I
I
weigh
swear.
Metabolism
1,000
requires food.
I weigh 1,000 and I only eat once, so I don't
Yeah,
know how that
something
works.
is not
Someone
working
study
out.
me and we'll figure it out. And I'm just kidding. But the first thing was I was interested if CO2 emissions had been affected, right? And the second thing was if masks actually work. I've yet to see a study if masks are actually have been good or bad for us because we are restricting oxygen
I think
flow.
there's a lot of studies that haven't been done clearly, and maybe there is a mask
There
study we
needs
haven't
to be a
seen.
study.
But I think a lot of these things, like basic questions, like how much CO2, like how much impact does one person not eating meat make, and is that a benefit if like thousands of people do
Right.
it, and
I
I think a lot of these studies just haven't been done or are not publicized to the public in a way we can access them.
And I do want to say, okay, I'm not that guy that's like, gosh, don't wear a mask.
Yeah,
That's silly. That's
Yeah,
super
obviously.
silly, right? Okay, but I do want to specify something that science is about innovation. It's about invention. It's about creating and progressing, right?
Yep.
What if we were wearing masks and it actually didn't do anything? Wouldn't you want to know that?
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah. And that we had that conversation earlier, right, Derek? We were like, you were like, hey, no, masks are super important. I was like, okay, why do you feel that way? And you're like, because of this. I was like, oh, that's a good reason. And I was kind of like, I don't know if masks really work or not. And we were both talking about it. And it's like right now in our political climate, like,
Yeah.
oh, you dare say that. You
We
get
need-
banned on Facebook, banned on YouTube.
You know,
we need
throw
to
them
have
the fires of hell. How dare they talk?
We need to have more scientific discourse. Because
Yeah.
scientists, like, when you say follow the science, like, we were just talking in my lab, like, a paper just came out, and my lab mates and I were like, we hate this paper. We don't agree with it at all. We think it's wrong. And so we're publishing a paper that's like a rebuttal that disagrees and says, hey, we
Ooh,
think
those are
you're
the best.
not right. I know Janine's like, ooh, juicy science.
I love it when
Ugh,
scientists
drama.
argue.
But like, because science isn't set in stone. Like
Right.
we are
No.
learning things every single day. And so we need more discourse. We need more conversation
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
like, and the other thing is when you push back on science, it gets better.
Better.
Yeah.
Like I have an author on this paper, this rebuttal paper we're writing. She and I do not agree.
So
And she talks, and I'm like, I play the devil's advocate. And when we come out the other side, it's actually stronger because I've pushed against her ideas and forced her to refine them and justify them and make them stronger. And that's the point of science.
yeah. So like me and you, Derek, right? We were talking about this, right? And we're like, man, this is, what if science don't like masks don't work, right?
But what if they do?
But what if they do? But what if we find out, right? And we're like, oh man, it doesn't work. Then what are we gonna do? Like if we had all the technology and all the money and all the power, what would we do?
We would design a better mask.
Exactly. That's what science is we go, hey, this didn't work. We want to make sure people don't get sick. Let's work together to make sure that doesn't happen. Flip a table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really think we do need more scientific discourse.
Yeah.
And I think it will help all of us sort of make a better impact, whether it's for conservation or recycling or green energy or any of those things. I think that's all super incredibly important. And I think you and, Derek and Janine, you've both done a lot of work recently for conservation and for, just like reaching out to the community and citizen science, a lot of things we've been talking about. And I really want the viewers to hear more about what you guys have been doing. So Derek, do you want to just like take a few minutes? I think, you've done a lot of really cool research in the past. And if you want to tell us about that, that's fine. But I also really want to hear about what you're doing right now, because you're doing some really cool work and you're reaching out to the public and sort of teaching people how to have that scientific discourse and have an impact. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do and how that is relevant for Earth Day?
Yeah, of course. So I wanted to first talk about what conservation is, right? A lot of people think conservation is something that scientists work on, something that, people can help prevent with, reducing plastic use and whatnot. But also, when you think about conservation, you also think of educating the general public.
Mm-hmm.
That's such an important thing because, I didn't know about conservation, how we can, help the earth before I started science.
Yeah.
So how do we, on Earth Day, how do we protect the earth that we're living on? Yeah. So education is super important in conservation. And that's something that I haven't been able to do much of just because of the pandemic, right? And how we're limited to reaching out to people. But some of the stuff that I've been working on recently is I've been working with the Maryland Park Services. I am part of the Maryland Conservation Corps. So we help conserve our natural resources through various means and kind of set the stage for people to get out there in the environment and experience nature for themselves.
Yeah.
In these natural environments that are rich with biodiversity so they can explore what nature is to them and really, get out there and just enjoy being outdoors, which is such an important thing now that we're all cooped up in our houses, stuck inside. We want to get out there, we want to exercise, and these natural parks and other resources provide the means by which we can connect with nature. And I think that's such an important thing. And that's something that I've been helping out with recently with the Maryland Park Services as we've been doing out there. We've been improving trails for people to walk on. We've been providing bridges, all sorts of things. But we've also been planting native plants. And that's something you can do at your home, right?
Yeah.
You can plant some native plants.
Oh, that's a good one, but I don't want to get us on another tangent.
If you want to learn more about planting native plants and the benefits, go listen to our pollinators episode.
Okay.
But also really quick, like one sentence or two sentences, like why are native plants better and important?
So they're designed to, live in the ecosystem that they're built for, right? But one of the biggest things for where I live along the Chesapeake Bay, is they filter a lot of the water coming through these streams.
Oh, that sounds important.
Yeah, these native plants, right? Who would have thought?
Yeah.
They filter that water as it's passing through, along with the soil and everything else, and generate cleaner water that's going into our bay, our Chesapeake Bay.
That sounds a lot like this sounds really important.
So important for our fish
and that study we were
species.
talking about earlier about pollutants that are in the river and they get out into the sea and the coral reefs. Local plants can actually help mitigate that. They can actually help stop those pollutants from making it out into the ocean.
So true.
But I don't want to plant them because they're not as pretty looking.
But they are.
I don't know of any plant that I'm like, man, that's an ugly freaking plant.
I mean, people want those like exotic tropical ornamentals and stuff, and I get it. Get them for inside your house.
Yeah.
Right.
But we also we're about to plant. I mean, go listen to our pollinators episode and the coffee break patron episode that follows because we talk a lot about what we're planting right now.
Yeah.
But I picked some native plants for our backyard that are incredibly
gorgeous.
They don't have green leaves; they have purple leaves, and they have these huge. They look like. They could be tropical, ornamental, incredibly crazy things, but they're native to West Virginia. Like, who knew?
Because, what someone like me would do, right, that doesn't know about plants like what you're talking about, Derek, is I would go to a shop and I'd be like, what's the prettiest plant?
Yeah.
I would even consider if it was a native plant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes native plants are more expensive. So, like you were saying with glass bottles, the burden is on the consumer.
Yeah.
You have to make a choice to be like, hey, am I going to buy a bush that's $20 or $40?
Yeah.
And that $40 bush kind of hurts my wallet, but now I know that it's better for bees and butterflies and it filters water and it's good for birds and insects and pollen,
pollinators?
Pollinators. Whoa. Yeah, seriously, go listen to our pollinator episode. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I do want to say, along with some of the recent projects we've been working on with the Maryland Park Service, we've also have an upcoming project.
Oh.
Yeah, we're planting milkweed at Merkel Natural
Ooh,
Resource Management
milkweed
area.
is one of my favorite plants.
What is milkweed?
Oh, so important for butterflies, monarchs.
So
Really?
So milkweed is actually the only plant that monarch butterflies can breed on. It is actually
Imagine that.
That sounds really
toxic.
important.
So the
Yeah.
milkweed plant
Wait,
is toxic, and when the monarch caterpillars eat the milkweed, they become toxic,
Mhm.
and it protects them from predators.
I'm like listening to Britney Spears right now. Don't you know it's toxic?
Isn't it fascinating though?
Yeah, no, that's
Like-
crazy.
Yeah.
It's also got these incredible purple flowers. I
Mhm.
love it.
Yeah.
So don't
Also-
go eat the flower, but yeah, it's important.
Well,
That's cool.
we've been talking about all these good plants too, but another important aspect of my job is removing invasive species.
Oh,
no.
Yeah, you hate to see it.
Like the
You
kudzu,
do.
like the
Oh.
kudzu that just goes
Kudzu.
crazy.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, I'm
Kudzu.
not a Maryland native or West Virginia native. What are some of the big invasive species you see in Maryland parks?
Oh man, don't ask me because I'm so bad with plants.
Well, I mean,
But mile a minute, kudzu,
yeah.
Yeah.
so important.
Oh.
I mean, kudzu just drive down the road.
Everywhere. Yeah, it
and-
just,
Right.
it just
So I'm from
English
the
ivy.
I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Ohio, right? And the Japanese honeysuckle has
Oh.
That's a big one, too.
completely
Mhm.
changed the
smells so
ecosystem and
good.
landscape. It does smell
Yeah.
good, but we actually have native honeysuckles.
Well, also
Coral
the
honeysuckle. I
Coral
think.
honeysuckle, but ours
Yeah.
are vines instead of bushes.
So
Yeah.
I do want to point something out.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not a scientist. Well, I am a scientist. I'm a scientist.
Computer
associate-
scientist.
Yeah.
Computer scientist. So if the problem is invasive species, what can we do, Derek and amazing people here, to help stop invasive species that it's like literally killing some environmental places?
Well, I would just start with being a steward of your own yard and
For sure.
you know, like those apps that Derek was telling you about. If you're
Right.
not sure what a plant is,
Mhm.
try to figure out what it is. If it's non-native, yank it up. And maybe figure out the best way to yank it up because there's
Yeah.
different ways you want to remove plants.
And I think in your own yard, we're always talking about weighing pros and cons. There are some non-native plants that
Right.
don't really spread. Like you
Yeah.
plant one plant and it stays there, and if you really want that plant and it's pretty,
Yeah.
you can keep it. But if it's one that's likely to spread to the forest nearby or just like pop up all
Don't
over the
do
place,
it, people.
try not to. My mom had wisteria growing up. I just thought that was normal. I thought it was native because you see it in the forest here in Maryland. It's along the highway. It's beautiful.
it is beautiful.
I found out recently it's not native and it spreads like wildfire. And I'm like, oh man,
Mhm.
maybe you shouldn't plant wisteria. Like it looks good on a trellis. It's got these big purple flowers. It
Mhm.
spreads like a vine, but it shoots up roots and like stuff like meters and like so far away. You
Yeah.
might not even, it might not be on your property. It might shoot up somewhere else in the forest across the street, you know? And it spreads and that's how these things, you know, like kudzu got out of control.
Right.
But if it's like a petunia and it's not going to spread anywhere, like you can have your petunias. We're not telling you to rip out all your natives,
Right.
but that's one thing you can do. I think the other thing is, and maybe this applies to your work, Derek, is people can volunteer.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
tell us more about that.
Yeah, so, we live in Maryland, but maybe you live in other states. So check your local states, and what you can do with the local parks. But check your parks and the park management areas.
And
because
nature
you may
centers.
be able to, and nature centers, yep. And you may be able to volunteer. Maybe they'll submit some days on their social media, where they have volunteer events where you can actually go and help remove some of these invasive species. They'll teach you, all about the invasive species and what they look like. You can learn something along the way. And also you can have some kind of, fulfilling day outdoors. You can go
Yeah.
experience
It's
nature.
super fun. I used to volunteer
Yeah,
at the Nature Center in
totally.
Cincinnati and pulling out honeysuckle, which is hard work. That's a
yeah,
big
you're
bush.
sore after.
You're
Yeah.
sore, but it
Good
feels,
workout.
it's rewarding. You get
Yeah.
a workout, you feel good, like you improved the environment, you saved local species, you're changing the
Mhm.
ecosystem back to how it's supposed to be.
Sounds like you
Exactly.
make friends too, which I feel like with the pandemic we really need some social.
Also, it's hard to make friends as adults.
Yeah.
I think we're all learning that.
You gotta
Oh
pull
my
some
goodness.
honeysuckle to like make some friends as adults.
It's really about the friends we make along the way.
Aw.
Aww.
So I do want to point something out. Invasive species is not just plants.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Not just
Oh.
plants. That was loud. Sorry.
He's getting,
That was cool.
he's getting
That was-
crazy.
I mean, that
with
was
his
cool.
bourbon
Sorry
over
about
there.
that,
Yeah,
Just
it's not
throwing
just
it
plants,
around.
but most
Big
like,
point.
like-
Pounding it home.
Yes, mallet. But like most people think when invasive species, they think of like kudzu and stuff. But you, like when we first got together, Dr. Rose, you were like, "Hey, no, this bird is invasive."
Yeah,
Oh.
there's lots of. So I love this story.
What's the definition of invasive?
So an invasive species is a species that is not native. So we live in West Virginia, and Janine and Derek live in Maryland.
Oh, mama.
So for us, like, yeah, I love our state anthem. Anyway, our state song, whatever. But for us, an invasive species is a species that was not originally from here, and often invasive species spread like wildfire, either because they have no predators or because they do exceptionally well in the soil or they have reduced
They're
competition.
good colonizers.
Yeah. And a lot of times when one species takes over, it actually decreases the success of species that were already here. So for bird species, there was a guy, it was New York, right? Do you know this story? He wanted an
starlings?
aviary of all of the birds that appeared in Shakespeare.
Yep.
Shakespeare wrote about mostly Italy, Venice, but also other parts of Europe. And so none of these birds were from here. And then they all got out.
Yeah, that's
And
where
that's-
the starlings came from.
That's where the
right?
European starlings came from. That's where
Oh,
the European
wow.
house sparrows. So if you live in a city and you see a little black bird with a yellow beak or a little brown bird with a little black patch on his chest, those are European birds. They don't belong here. But they are in like every single part of our country. And they actually, the European house sparrow, it's an adorable little bird. They're horrible. They will nest in houses. They will nest in everything. I study eastern bluebirds, which is an incredible native species that was really in decline, and humans made this great effort to bring them back. House sparrows will just go into their nest, break all the eggs, and leave. Like Derek
What a
was
homewrecker.
leaning into the mic to tell that story. I stole it from him. But
It's fine.
but seriously, like invasive species can do serious detriment to native species. And like with the Japanese honeysuckle in Ohio, there's not any really large bushes that are all over the landscape. Usually you have little tiny like violets and little things on the forest floor. And by adding this whole bush layer, it's completely changed the ecosystem of what plants and pollinators and thereby birds and things that are eating the birds and rabbits, and like it's completely changed the ecosystem by adding this one plant.
I mean, think about how much soil space you have available. Well, invasive species are going to limit that to native plants.
Right.
Right.
Soil space and sun. Like a
Exactly.
bush is
Yeah.
going to shade out anything that was supposed to be on the floor. And birds are competing for food and for nest sites. And so invasive species can really be a big problem. And so you can go to parks, especially for plants. It's pretty easy. They don't run away. You can pull them out. For invasive animal species, it can be a lot harder. And I feel like that sort of gets us into what Janine's been doing.
I was just thinking that too.
Yeah, so can you tell us,
So-
I guess,
Well, I want
Yeah.
to before we get into that, because we're like about to go into part 2 territory, right?
Okay.
Like, it's unknown territory.
This
I
is
wanna
part
look-
one still?
This is part 1 still, bro. Yeah.
we've been having so much fun. We got carried away, guys.
Yeah, Earth Day is going to be probably 2 parts because this is some good conversation.
Stay
Yeah.
tuned.
Stay
Part
tuned.
2. Next time.
episode of Dragon Ball Z. No, but seriously, like to end on the point of invasive species, and then part 2 we'll get to you, Janine. If we talk about aliens all the time, Navy comes out and it's like, oh, there's a pyramid up there, UFO and stuff. As humans, we're so like ignorant to the fact that there could be another species out there that is just as intelligent as us, like has that intellect.
Yeah.
That could just come in and just wipe us out.
I just
And we-
watched Independence Day today.
Right.
Such a
Welcome
good
to
movie.
Earth. Thanks, Will Smith. Appreciate you. But no, for real though, like, could you imagine if just like, again, think of that neighborhood,
Mhm.
And somebody moves in next door, alien, species that's on your level, right?
Uh-huh.
And they just start taking over your
Yeah.
yard and your house
That's
and
what
everything you got.
That's what it's like for our native critters. I
Yep.
guess,
Yeah.
when they're
That's
feasting on
exactly
their
what
food.
it's like for an invasive species.
Yeah.
So next time you're out in the yard and you're thinking like, oh man, it's an amazing bird, or oh, that kudzu's so pretty. Like, actually be thinking about like, is that plant actually helping the environment it's in?
Yeah.
Because it might not be its natural habitat.
100%.
Okay, so this is part 1. I mean, woo, Earth Day.
We've been having a lot of
special.
fun, guys. We got
Yeah.
carried away.
I've been having fun. Have you been having fun, Janine?
So far,
I'm having fun.
Yeah, we're having fun.
yeah. I'm gonna need
Zelda's
some more
having
bourbon.
fun.
Yeah, Zelda.
Zelda has finally joined the podcast. For those of you who are regular listeners, she's been a little weirded out by the extra guests, but she's finally settled in.
Finally settled in. So we hope you've enjoyed this first part. Second part, we're gonna get into your research, Janine, what you do, because we talked about Derek and what you do, and you guys are amazing. I just work at a computer all day long, so I do what I can. But so hopefully you're
Wrong.
enjoying.
You'd be surprised how much I just work at a computer all day long.
Hey, computers are important. We need those.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've talked a lot of great stuff this episode. Hopefully you're enjoying this if you're listening to this. You definitely check out part 2 because we're going to get into some more awesome research. So stay tuned for that.